I'm not telling anybody who to vote for. The big issues that people care about are inflation. Yes, it's come down, but it was bad. They care about the border, and that's been bad. That's gotten better, but they remember. So that's what I think people care about, and that hurts the administration.
Well, when you think about the policies, and I think it's fair to ask about...
Vamos a hacer el multicast. Primero que nada, no tengo los audífonos. Si lo hago de esta forma, bueno, vamos a ver qué podemos hacer. Okay. Primero que nada, vamos a empezar con el programa de radio. Vamos a hacer la introducción porque nos vamos a preparar. La clase comienza en 2 minutos. Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Voltron R1. Lo pueden escuchar en Spotify o en iTunes o donde usted busca su podcast. Okay. Segundo, vamos a abrir el en vivo. Esto es el cosa más importante. Bueno, vamos a abrir aquí. Dale unos segundos para que comience el en vivo. Ok, ya estamos en vivo. Perfecto. So, estamos en el radio, programa de radio, estamos en el podcast y a la misma vez vamos a escuchar el mercado comenzando la clase.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that 162 level very close to that level back in July, right? And then we saw that massive appreciation of the Japanese yen. But those long bullish bets have sort of taken a hit this month, and we have seen that in the options market already. And it's really about the function of the Federal Reserve, right? Because we saw that messaging coming from Chair Powell. Nobody should be assuming that the easing will be in the magnitude that we've seen in this rate cut of 50 basis points. So after we got those comments, we actually have Japanese yen weakening, and the volatility has been pretty strong because earlier in the week on Monday, the yen actually touched 139. Now we're at 142, 143, and depending on what Governor Ueda also says this afternoon, we could see more of an impact on the Japanese yen. But a lot to do with what's happening with the BOJ tightening itself, with the Fed easing, and how investors try to capture that in the markets. We have seen the 2-year Treasury yield now continue to fall. Treasury is pretty mixed. But the fact that there is more of a sense that the Fed will be a little bit more gradual when it comes to easing, that has put a little bit of pressure on the Japanese yen. We also have to consider that we're headed towards the LDP presidential election next week. Depending on who gets elected, and the visibility right now is pretty low, that could also potentially have an impact on the Japanese currency. According to Barclays, if candidates such as Ms. Takaichi, who has talked about the need for more BOJ easing, that could actually lead to more yen weakness.
Buy and sell stocks anytime, anywhere with zero commission. You can start investing with as little as $5. Practice trading with our trading simulator before you start investing with real money. We provide customizable charts and tools, in-depth analysis, and much more. Join Webull and start your portfolio today.
Honey, the gains are pumping.
Dad, is Mommy finance broke?
She switched careers to make money for your wedding.
Ooh, the Asian market is blowing up. Hey, who wants shots, huh? Shots of milk.
The right money moves aren't as aggressive as you think.
Factors come into play. You got to wonder just how much clarity you would get from the conference later today from Ueda?
Yeah, we're going to be really watching his comments around the inflation outlook, his comments about the real rates, because Governor Ueda has already said the real rates remain very low. So despite the fact that we are seeing this tightening trend here in Japan, real rates remain low. And we'll really want to watch what he says around consumer spending as well. That was included in this statement about improvements in consumer spending, but it's always been about really trying to bring that virtuous cycle of consumption here in Japan. Because despite the fact that we had a weaker yen and inflation accelerating, especially core CPI, this morning accelerating for a fourth consecutive month and being above that 2% BOJ target for more than 2 years, it's really being about trying to get prices sustainably higher by having Japanese people go out and spend, and that's been a much more difficult task for the BOJ and broader policymakers.
Sharon, with the very latest, of course, just recapping the BOJ doing what is widely expected, standing pat at 0.25% so far in terms of reaction. The yen and the Nikkei, very little reaction there, perhaps fully priced in. Now, elsewhere in the market, it feels like a feel-good Friday. We're seeing an extension in terms of stocks in Asia. MSCI Asia Pac Index up about 2%, extending that rally we've seen globally. Remember that global stocks are at new record highs. It does help that 50 BPS cut by the Fed has not led to any panic in the market. In fact, the reversal has come through, and we have the U.S. jobs data as well, suggesting perhaps the Fed will be able to engineer that soft landing it has been talking about. Just bear in mind, global monetary policy is diverging at that point in time. Beware of that particular risk. We're keeping an eye on Hong Kong. It is in the money. Property plays in focus. Of course, we're talking about Chinese property plays on the back of Evergrande hearing today. Liquidators looking to unwind a unit of Evergrande with key assets. If successful, it would be a big victory for them. And of course, we want to take a look at the yuan. It is pretty much well supported at the strongest level in more than a year. The fix, by the way, was the biggest since March 2023. Let's take a look at how it's looking in the overall picture. Sentiment pretty much lifted. Indonesia, though, right now down about 1.5%. Also losses for the New Zealand benchmark, currently lower by 0.8%. In the FX space, Asian currencies, as you can see, pretty much well supported. The rupiah up 0.9%. Of course, we're seeing how those emerging market currencies in this part of the world, in particular, the Malaysian ringgit, has been really going gangbusters, among the best performers right now, up about 0.5%. Sentiment lifted by the moves by the Fed, as well as the BOJ standing pat as expected. Let's get assessment on that move by the BOJ. Oh, no move at all. Staying pat at 0.25%. Sherry-Ann in Tokyo. Sherry.
Yeah, we're still trying to digest that statement coming from the Bank of Japan, and we're really focusing on those comments around financial stability, especially the forex markets. So the BOJ says they need to pay attention to that. There's high uncertainties around the economic activity and prices in this economy. But let me bring in my next guest, who's Sayuri Shirai. She's a former BOJ board member. She's also professor at Keio University. Sayuri, thank you so much for coming out here, being in the sun with me, trying to digest what the BOJ is doing from here. But they didn't move, right? That was pretty much expected.
Yes.
And you think it was because the yen strengthened a little bit?
Yes, because last time when they made quite a surprising decision at the end of July, and until the second half of July, first half of July, there's a lot of depreciation, like about 160. But now, it's more appreciated around 142, 143. So there is no strong reason why BOJ needs to take action like now, because the domestic demand is not very strong.
The BOJ in the statement saying that FX is more likely to affect prices than in the past.
Yes.
What sort of impact could we see?
I think, the Fed started to lower interest rate now, and then they're going to lower it towards 3% over the next 2 years, right? But still, 3% and Japan's low interest rate, there's a big interest differential. So it's possible the yen, will start to appreciate, but remain at the quite depreciated level than the past, like 120 or 130. Then still, imported prices will be affected, right? It's not really demand driven, but it's mainly from imported cost push inflation. I think BOJ acknowledge there can be such kind of exchange rate impact for in the future as well.
And you saw that really demand-driven inflation was not in place, even in the core CPI numbers this morning.
Yeah, so this morning, headline inflation was 3%. More than 60% of inflation come from food and energy. It's a basically
60% inflation is coming from food and energy.
Over, this past
60%.
year. And if we look at the services inflation, it's dominated by hotel fee and overseas, travel fee. Just two items account for 40% of services inflation. So it's really nothing to do with domestic demand, right?
Does that mean then that the BOJ can continue to tighten? Can it raise rates further this year, or does it get pushed out?
So from the point of domestic demand, I don't see any reason why BOJ should raise interest rate, right? But I think BOJ took action in July because of the excessively cheap Japanese yen. Now still Japanese yen is cheap at 140 level. So BOJ have to be cautious. So probably Governor Ueda today at the press conference they do not deny any possibility of further interest hike, because otherwise, markets think, okay, BOJ will not take any action, so it might depreciate Japanese yen again. So BOJ have to act very cautiously, and there's a dilemma. But in terms of domestic demand, I think they want to maintain low interest rate.
Really don't want to be in his shoes, do we? I mean, it's going to be such a tricky messaging act.
Yes.
What can we expect in terms of other tools that we could see from the BOJ? Because, so they cut the pace of bond purchases by half. We know that normalization is happening. What happens to other tools that they've used in this extraordinary period, say ETF holdings that are huge as well?
So at the July 31st meeting last time, somebody asked, what Bank of Japan is going to do about this reducing ETF holding, huge amount of holding, and Governor said, please give me time. And at this moment, it's a bit very risky for BOJ to start to reduce ETF holding, because now yen is on the appreciation trend. It will lead to the decline in the profit in the exporting sector, which will undermine stock prices. So I think it's not a good time for Bank of Japan to take action on that. Even maybe they are thinking in the future, but it's kind of double impacts to the stock prices.
I mean, investors will take that and run with it, right? But the BOJ is saying financial conditions have been accommodative, and that's true, right, when it comes to real rates.
In terms of real interest rate, still very negative, right? Because
And then
inflation is
you add
3%, interest rate is just 0.25%. Very, very big negative interest rate. However, we have to be careful. The BOJ say it's accommodated because of the real interest rate, but inflation is cost push. So companies feel, they don't feel really, financial condition is accommodating because it's cost push. Their input costs are rising, right? It's depressing their profit. So, real interest rate is negative. It's accommodating in economic sense, but it doesn't mean the company feel, financial conditions accommodating. Indeed, cost push inflation, higher inflation. I don't think they are not taking this as a positive situation.
Which takes us full circle to the fact that demand-driven inflation will be very tricky, right? I mean, if businesses don't feel that they can be more aggressive in terms of activity and animal spirits don't return, they're not going to hike wages more. But we have seen some changes there too.
Yeah, so we started to see quite high wages, especially in the past 2 months, about 3%. So it's quite clear that real wages has finally started to pick up in a positive territory. But most of these increases come from bonuses, like a one-time for all, bonuses. It's not like a regular,
Base pay though, the increase as well.
Yes, but not so much. But basically because of the bonuses. right? So, and this year, company try to raise wages, partly because we have a serious labor shortage. Unless they pay more wages, nobody comes, right? But it doesn't mean they can continue wage growth at such level next year or 2 years after, because Japanese economy is quite sluggish, right? Corporate sector does not really improve their labor productivity. Then it diminishes the growth rate, right? So nobody knows whether this year's wage growth will be sustainable.
It sounds to me that if you were still at the BOJ, you would prefer to hike rates next year. Is that correct?
If we don't need to worry about exchange rate, I think maintaining the current interest rate is the best option.
However, we see more yen weakness, it would be sound to act.
We may have to, yes.
Sayuri Shirai, always great to see you on BOJ Day. Outside here in the heat with me. Thank you so much. She's professor at Keio University and, of course, a former member of the BOJ as well. Back to you guys. Has.
Sharian, thank you so much for that. Let's do a check on how Japanese assets are doing. The yen in particular, it stood pat initially, but a tad stronger at this point in time as we speak after that BOJ decision. Of course, standing pat, we await that the comments from Ueda, whether he has any signal, any indication what he might do later this year. Another hike, perhaps, comms are key. Of course, Nikkei futures maintaining the gains that we saw earlier. Of course, Japan on lunch break. Plenty more ahead. Keep it here with us. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back to Bloomberg Markets Asia, and we have breaking news right here. Bloomberg has learned that China is considering removing some of the largest remaining restrictions on home purchases after previous measures failed to revive the market. Of course, China has been settled with this property crisis, and it's been struggling to reverse the weakness in its economy. Let's bring in our China correspondent, Minmin Lo. Minmin, walk us through the new measures. What are we hearing?
Yeah, quite a number of measures that Beijing is said to be mulling, according to sources. So they are looking to roll back restrictions that would have prevented non-local buyers. I'm referring to those without their hukou or household registrations tied to the cities that they want to buy a house in. So Beijing is looking to roll back some of the restrictions. In the past, some of these requirements include having to pay taxes and social security contributions for a number of years if you don't have that household registration in order to buy a house. Now, this is not entirely new. Back in, I believe, May or June, some cities like Hangzhou and Xi'an had already rolled back some of these restrictions. But what we are hearing is Beijing is looking to expand this relaxing of these curbs to bigger cities like Beijing and Shanghai. On top of that, they are also looking to remove the distinction between first home purchases and second home purchases. What that does is it paves the way for lower down payment ratio and lower mortgage rates on second home purchases. And the third thing that they're planning to do is to remove the distinction between ordinary homes and luxury homes. And the intention is that hopefully that would encourage a sort of consumption upgrading to increase the demand for larger homes. So this is all in a package of demand side policies that would hopefully inject more demand into the housing sector. And bear in mind, we also previously reported some time back that the government was mulling allowing homeowners to refinance their existing mortgages with banks as soon as this month. We're hearing that it could be a two-step process with a cut of up to 80 basis points to existing mortgage rates.
I mean, the question really is, will it work? We've seen a slew of measures before to prop up China's economy. They have failed. Might it be different this time?
Yeah, that's the thing. So as you said, we have already seen some of these measures being rolled out in the past, and we're in the fourth year of the property downturn. And if you look at the August numbers, both home prices and home sales deepened decline. In fact, home prices had slid at the fastest pace in 9 years, and that was partly because some city governments had rolled back any restrictions on price guidances of new home prices. That led to developers engaging in a price war to attract home buyers. And according to one of the PBOC surveys of home buying sentiment, many people still believe home prices will continue to slide. So they're still staying on the sidelines. So it's hard to say. Obviously, it is a positive step in the right direction because it allows those people who were previously not eligible to buy houses in the big cities, they may now be able to do so. And already we're seeing the stocks of those share prices of the developers on the screen. They're all pointing out quite a big pop, up to 8% for one of those shares. So pretty good news, it seems, for the sector. But as to whether it will really translate into actual stronger demand, I think that's something we need to wait and see.
That's right. Proof is in the pudding. Min Min Lo, Bloomberg's China correspondent. Thank you so much for that. Plenty more ahead. Keep it here with us. This is Bloomberg.
There might be other music distros, but trust, they ain't us. At United Masters, we are the artist hub for every stage of your career. We're introducing a new starter plan for music distribution, Debut Plus. For only $19.99 per year, release unlimited tracks on your terms. Not only do you keep 100% of your royalties, you get access to our blueprint. It shows you when to release and how to promote and start cashing in on your music. Believe in you with Debut Plus.
What's your credit card debt balance? If it's $10,000 or more, here are 3 easy solutions you can start in.
Keep it here with us. This is Bloomberg.
All right, so we'll leave it paused so that we can administrate it. Give me one quick second. Let me minimize it so I can have it on my queue. But this way I can also pause it. And in between breaks, you guys can continue. So before we get started, we're going to begin with the Dominican news. So official start time would be 21:11. 21:11, everybody write that down. So that means you guys have 2 minutes. So while we do that, let's get started on the Dominican Republic news, okay? Very quickly, coffee is in the green, 0.59%, $262.60 a pallet. Sugar in the green, 4.35%, $22.06 a pallet. Orange juice in the red, $3.15, $476.25 a pallet. Now, China already has predicted 60% of inflation is coming due to food and energy prices. So pay attention when doing your groceries. Try to get as many deals as you can, especially when you have a family. Try to get things that you can make at home. So if they have, it could be 2 sacks of potatoes, for example, buy one, get one half off, or buy one, get one at 20% the price, or buy one, get one free. That's what you need to get. Instead of going to get some crinkle cut fries that you could easily make at home, and they're going to taste 1,000,000% better. They're going to taste like the joints at fucking In-N-Out Burger or fucking Chick-fil-A. All you need to do is use the secret, which is the peanut oil. And very quickly, gold stands in the green, 1.29%, $2,620.11 an ounce. Silver in the green, 1.25%, $31.17. Platinum in the red, 0.88%, $979.64. Palladium in the red, 0.38%, $1,062.53 an ounce. Copper 3M, baby, in the green, 1.22%, $9,515 even, and it's holding the motherfucking Green Ranger, baby. We'll be right back with top 20 coins. Let's move on to the Dominican Republic news. We're always going to start with health. Para los estudiantes en español, siempre vamos a empezar con la salud. Listín Diario, República Dominicana. Dame un segundito, déjame ajustar la cosa aquí de mis pies. Perfecto. Ok, el examen comenzó oficialmente al 21. Le di 2 minutos para que entraran y comenzamos ahora. Le di 1 minuto más de gratis. Psicología. A pensar como niño o niña. Orientación. A medida que envejecemos, pasamos de un aprendizaje amplio a un aprendizaje especializado, centrándonos en nuestras carreras y áreas específicas de especialización. Imagen. Las investigaciones sugieren que pueden mantener su cerebro activo, retrasando a desacelerando el deterioro cognitivo relacionado con la edad. Por la señora Lucy Peña, prima mía, especial para Listín Diario, Santo Domingo, República Dominicana. La sociedad nos dice que el loro viejo no aprende a hablar, que es más difícil para los adultos aprender nuevas habilidades que para los niños. Y en muchos sentidos, eso es cierto. Los bebés no tienen nada que hacer más que comer, dormir y aprender. Mientras que los adultos enfrentan todo tipo de limitaciones de tiempo, dinero y limitaciones de la vida real. De acuerdo al estudio publicado en la revista Human Development por la doctora Raquel Wu en el 2017, utilizar un enfoque infantil en el aprendizaje puede ayudar a personas de cualquier edad a asumir y conquistar nuevos desafíos. Las investigaciones sugieren que pueden mantener su cerebro activo, retrasando o desacelerando el deterioro cognitivo relacionado con la edad. Wu dice, a medida que envejecemos, pasamos de un aprendizaje amplio a un aprendizaje especializado, centrándonos en nuestras carreras y áreas específicas de especialización. Es esa especialización cada vez más estrecha que la conduce a la desaceleración cognitiva. En lugar de caer en esta trampa, resalta Wu, los adultos deberían adoptar un aprendizaje amplio a través de las siguientes 6 estrategias. Licenciada Lucy Peña, psicóloga clínica, grupo profesional psicológicamente. Aventúrate fuera de tu zona de confort. Como adultos solemos utilizar habilidades similares día tras día. Aceptamos trabajos en campo que ya dominamos. Conducimos por las mismas rutas, a los mismos lugares y adoptamos rutinas con las que nos sentimos cómodos. Pero toda esta familiaridad limita las partes del cerebro que utilizamos de forma básica. Mientras si cambiamos a actividades más retadoras y diferentes, obtendremos mayores beneficios cognitivos. Aprende una nueva tarea o carrera. Puedes contratar a un profesor o tomar una clase por tu cuenta, o también puedes unirte a un grupo de adultos donde uno de los integrantes enseña una actividad como pintar, tocar un instrumento, hablar un nuevo idioma. Cree en ti mismo. Este puede ser uno de los más difíciles porque está muy arraigado en nuestra cultura. Esforzarte por creerlo realmente para saber que puedes y que mejorarás con la práctica. Haz un compromiso serio y no te rindas. Lo que mantiene a la gente motivada es muy personalizado. La gente necesita encontrar la inspiración que funcione para ellos. Aprende más de una cosa a la vez. Dividir tu tiempo y energía en 3 o 4 áreas estirará tu cerebro en todas las direcciones diferentes. La clave es tomar riesgos, escuchar a tu maestro y sentir que tu capacidad intelectual florece. Muy bello ese artículo. Siempre me gusta comenzar con la salud. Como ustedes saben, yo soy doctor en 27 diferentes materias, pero la psicología es mi favorita y una de mis mejores almas secretas en el mundo de todo lo que es el negocio. Mi gente, perdónenme que yo estoy botando todos los mocos aquí. Okay. Ya bajé el aire un poco que está frío aquí. Okay. Entrevista exclusiva, listín diario, finanzas, economía. Entrevista exclusiva. De Soto valora estabilidad. República Dominicana dice titulación de la propiedad atraerá grandes capitales. Economista peruano asegura que la titulación genera identidad, identificación y emisión de dinero. El economista peruano Hernando de Soto conversa con la editora de Economía en Negocios, Cándida Acosta. Foto por José Alberto Maldonado, Listín Diario, República Dominicana. Artículo por la señorita Cándida Acosta, Santo Domingo, República Dominicana. Ese es el nombre de mi abuela. Es el nombre de mi abuela. El economista peruano Hernando de Soto eligió el crecimiento que exhibe la economía dominicana, que afirma está muy bien, sobre todo con la estabilidad social que muestra frente a otros países de la región latinoamericana. De Soto, en respuesta a la pregunta de cómo podemos estar mejor, no dudó en explicar la importancia de la titulación de la propiedad, no solo para las personas, sino para el Estado, donde a partir de sus activos puede asegurarse un gran incremento de la inversión foránea y en participación de capital en el mercado internacional de bolsas como Wall Street. El economista peruano preside el Instituto Libertad y Democracia. Visitó el país en 2014. Ya antes había venido en la época del extinto expresidente Joaquín Balaguer, con lo cual suma 3 veces su llegada a República Dominicana, aunque siempre por asuntos de trabajo, y citó su visita a la zona turística de Punta Cana, cuando apenas había en sus inicios unas 6 edificaciones. El economista de amable trato y un gran conversador y amante de la historia y la cultura, dijo sentirse emocionado al conocer del ministro de Industria, Comercio y MIPYMES, MICM, Víctor Ito Bisono, detalles de la llegada de Cristóbal Colón a República Dominicana, donde se construyó la Catedral Primada de América y la primera universidad del Nuevo Mundo, UASD, Universidad Autónoma de Santo Domingo. Datos que recomienda sacar mayor provecho en materia turística. El economista de Soto asegura que en el país solo está pendiente ver qué se puede hacer para estar mejor si se quiere pasar al mundo desarrollado, y un primer paso es la propiedad, cómo se establecen los términos de la propiedad que contiene el registro y titulación. Puso de ejemplo la cantidad de información que contiene un pasaporte como identidad personal y las etiquetas de las maletas de viajes, la cual relacionó con la información que garantizan los títulos de propiedad y su suficiencia o no para entrar al mercado de capitales. Señaló que el capital se forma en base en las escrituras y las informaciones de la gente sobre lo cual es dueño, y por eso la propiedad se basa en datos que el propietario no puede negar, pero tampoco le interesa negar, porque eso le permite mantenerse en su sitio. Explicó que como se trata de un tema poco conocido y por eso los títulos deben tener mayor información, como en Europa y en Estados Unidos, donde se usan seguros de títulos, por lo que la información es abundante y hay que innovar. Sostuvo que es necesario dar importancia a la propiedad porque los títulos pueden cumplir varias funciones, comenzando con la identidad personal, ya que genera confianza y facilita su ubicación. De Soto citó una ciudad de Estados Unidos, donde por medio de un plan peruano de titulación se identificaron miles de edificios vacíos que permitieron identificar escondrijos de delincuentes. De igual modo, dijo que donde no hay títulos, la posibilidad de desorden es muy grande. Comentó que como resultado de las luchas contra pandillas de terrorismo, Sendero Luminoso en el Perú, su organización descubrió que ellos manejaban el registro de propiedad y se los expropiaron con la validación de Naciones Unidas y le ganaron la guerra en 6 meses. Respecto a la tercera función sobre la emisión de dinero en Estados Unidos, explicó que el 5% lo emite la Reserva Federal, FED, y el restante 95% lo hace la banca privada, a cambio de propiedades o terrenos. Hernando de Soto habló para el Listín Diario en uno de los salones del Hotel El Embajador. Fotografía por José Alberto Maldonado. En ese contexto, de Soto señaló que el país se está privando del mercado de capitales de Estados Unidos y de Europa, por lo menos aquellos que no tienen esos títulos. Y lo que es más importante, si los títulos están sobre minas o recursos naturales, se está perdiendo dinero, capital que no es circulante, sino dinero de inversión. Sostuvo que si los países en desarrollo documentan bien sus activos para que, al igual que el pasaporte, puedan ser reconocidos afuera, tendrán un valor adicional, y tema que ha sido objeto de estudio en 30 países. Puso de ejemplo un caso de privatización de una empresa en la que la oferta era baja, en la que se documentaron internacionalmente las normas y la venta se hizo por un valor superior al 40% que se estaba ofertando inicialmente. El economista de Soto asegura que en el país solo está pendiente ver qué se puede hacer para estar mejor si se quiere pasar al mundo desarrollado, y un primer paso es la propiedad, como se establecen los términos de la propiedad que contiene el registro y titulación. Puso de ejemplo la cantidad de información que contiene un pasaporte como identidad personal y las etiquetas de las maletas de viajes, la cual relacionó con la información que garantizan los títulos de propiedad y su suficiencia o no para entrar al mercado de capitales. Señaló que el capital se forma en base en las escrituras y las informaciones de la gente sobre lo cual es dueño, y por eso la propiedad se basa en datos que el propietario no puede negar, pero tampoco le interesa negar, porque eso le permite mantenerse en su sitio. Explicó que como se trata de un tema poco conocido y por eso los títulos deben tener mayor información, como en Europa y en Estados Unidos, donde se usan seguros de títulos, por lo que la información es abundante y hay que innovar. Sostuvo que es necesario dar importancia a la propiedad, porque los títulos pueden cumplir varias funciones, comenzando con la identidad personal, ya que genera confianza y facilita su ubicación. De Soto citó una ciudad de Estados Unidos, donde por medio de un plan peruano de titulación se identificaron miles de edificios vacíos que permitieron identificar escondrijos de delincuentes. De igual modo, dijo que donde no hay títulos, la posibilidad de desorden es muy grande. Comentó que como resultado de las luchas contra las pandillas de terrorismo, Sendero Luminoso en el Perú, su organización descubrió que ellos manejaban el registro de propiedad y se los expropiaron con la validación de Naciones Unidas y le ganaron la guerra en 6 meses. Respecto a la tercera función sobre la emisión de dinero en Estados Unidos, explicó que el 5% lo emite la Reserva FED federal y el restante 95% lo hace la banca privada a cambio de propiedades o terrenos. En ese contexto, De Soto señaló que el país se está privando del mercado de capitales de Estados Unidos y Europa, por lo menos aquellos que no tienen esos títulos. Y lo que es más importante, si los títulos están sobre minas o recursos naturales, se está perdiendo dinero, capital, que no es circulante, sino dinero de inversión. Sostuvo que si los países en desarrollo documentan bien sus activos para que, al igual que el pasaporte, puedan ser reconocidos fuera, tendrán un valor adicional y tema que ha sido objeto de estudio en 30 países. Puso de ejemplo a un caso de privatización de una empresa en la que la oferta era baja, en la que se documentaron internacionalmente las normas y la venta se hizo por un valor superior al 40% que se estaba ofertando inicialmente. Los títulos de propiedad son reconocidos por la inversión porque es un documento con el cual se puede conseguir capital recalco. Sepa más. Visita. En esta tercera visita a República Dominicana, De Soto dictó la conferencia Titulación y Propiedad Privada, claves para el desarrollo económico, en el Salón Las Cariátides, en el Palacio Nacional, donde por la gran asistencia del público dijo que estuvo medio país en forma de broma. De Soto fue invitado al país por el Centro de Análisis para Políticas Públicas, CAPP, presidido por Víctor Ito Bisono, fundado en el 2007. El CAPP ha tenido como invitados en el país a 13 ex jefes de Estado y gobierno de 11 naciones, altas autoridades de organismos internacionales, laureados escritores y ha servido como contraparte de importantes conclaves. Con Hernando de Soto, el CAPP tiene como un aliado para esta actividad al Instituto Republicano Internacional, IRI, de Estados Unidos. El objetivo de CAPP es generar espacios para la discusión, formulación e implementación de reformas en diversas áreas. Eso incluye la institucionalidad política, seguridad y la economía, base de la agenda para la prosperidad de cualquier nación. Donde no hay títulos, la posibilidad de desorden es muy grande. Me gustó el artículo, me interesaba más lo que era negocio, no la vaina política. Estaban martillando la vaina política, entonces me fijé una dimensión en la escritura. Pusieron toda la conversación que se habló con el caballero y después todas las reflexiones. Se ve muy bonito mentalmente, pero la información queda vacía de lo que es el negocio. Estamos hablando de iluminar su punto de vista como un empresario, porque es lo que nos interesa a nosotros como empresarios que somos. Pero a continuación, vamos a ir ahora con el mercado y regresamos al formato de inglés. This will be chapter 2. Official start time 47:17. You guys have 2 minutes to start. We already did the commodities. So we're going to jump right into your top 20 coins. Let's go into currencies. Open up your Baja apps. And I'll give you guys 2 minutes to walk in. Let me hydrate. Hydration, everybody stretch. So we got through chapter 1. I need 5 paragraphs, 5 sentences each, over 5 pages for chapter 1. Use your calculators and use your calendars and show the work, please. I don't care if you scribble chicken scratch. I can read chicken scratch very well. I have kids. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, so you guys have a few seconds. All right, chapter 2, here we go. Bitcoin stands in the red, 0.30%. $62,751, 613th of a penny. Ethereum in the green, 2.92%, $2,537, 2,014th of a penny. Bitcoin Cash in the red, 0.94%, $333, 11,572 of a penny. Dogecoin, 0.60%, 10 cents, 4,300 of a penny. Litecoin in the red, 1.17%, $64.63, 3,217th of a penny. Tron in the green, 0.20%, 0.15 cents, 1,800th of a penny. The Green Ranger, baby. Tethercoin, 0.11% in the green, $1, 1,300th of a penny. Solana in the green, 2.50%, $146.47 even. XRP, Ripple in the red, 0.170%. I told you yesterday, 0.57 cents, 7,491 of a penny. Diecoin in the green, 0.01%, 99 cents, 9,870 of a penny. Avalanche coin in the green, 0.92%, $26.91 even and holding. US dollar coin in the green, 0.02%, 0.02%, 99 cents, 9,950th of a penny. Binance coin in the red, 0.14%, $566.09, 998 of a penny. Polkadot in the green, 0.16%, $4.26, 2,000ths of a penny. Cardano in the green, 0.14%, 35 cents, 1,600 of a penny. Unisat coin, 0.74% in the green, $5.76, 7,000 of a penny. Near Protocol in the red, 1.21% in the red, $4.31, 100th of a penny. Timecoin in the red, 1.73%, $5.58, 4,800 of a penny. Chainlink in the green, plus 2.10%, $11.43, 7,490th of a penny. Shiba Inu, even, 0.0000141. Same as yesterday, if you guys peep game. Okay. Let's do this, baby. This is what I'm talking about right here. The man right here. Okay. MicroStrategy acquires $458 million in Bitcoin. I like the price, $458 million. Sounds pretty good. MicroStrategy announced Friday that it had acquired 7,420 Bitcoins valued at approximately $458 million. The acquisition completed between September 13th and 19th at an average price of $61,750 per Bitcoin was funded by an upsized convertible note offering that raised $1.01 billion, up from the originally planned $700 million. So they undershot the company by $300.1 billion. Okay, led by Executive Chairman Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy has been the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin since 2020. So as a business, when we need advice on how to execute these type of transactions, that's the company that we need to go to. Following this latest purchase, the company now holds 252,220 Bitcoins, worth nearly $16 billion at current prices. So I officially want 252. That's what they have. I need like 4 million Bitcoin, something like that. Okay. Ethereum, US dollar rate in the green, 2.89%, 2,537.19 cents. Remember, we covered that. Bitcoin, US dollar in the red, 0.64%, 62,540. Now, look at the average price. It was 61,750. Right now, it's going for 62,540. So that means this fortune just increased in a matter of seconds. Let me see. All right, let's go back real quick. Constellation signs power purchase deal with Microsoft. Constellation Energy Corporation revealed on Friday in a press release that it signed its largest ever power purchase agreement with Microsoft Corporation, which will last 20 years. 20-year contract. The deal will restart the company's 3 Mile Island Unit 1 nuclear plant, which was shut down in 2019 due to economic reasons. Under the agreement, Microsoft will purchase energy from the renewed plant as part of its goal to help match the power its data centers in PJM use with carbon-free energy, Constellation detailed. So that's diversifying tax liability. By investing in a company that's all green, they get those green tax credits and they put that towards their corporation. Very smart, clever. Never thought about that. And let's talk about multi-layers. So different verticals. First of all, this app I was able to open in the front, so that's a layer. And the same way that this company buys all these Bitcoins, they have an even bigger holding. So that's layer right there. Okay. As part of the restart, money will be put into the facility for turbines, generators, main power transformers and cooling, and control systems. The United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission will first have to give its approval before the plant starts operating again. Constellation Energy stands in the green today, plus 20%, $250.07 a share. Duh, that's a no-brainer. Microsoft Corporation stands in the red, 0.48%, $436.41. Here we go with the political shit. Ethereum co-founder. No, I'm not going with none of that bullshit. Okay, so moving on. Let's have everything ready here. Okay, so that's on cue and that's on cue. Okay, that will take our little break and we'll go into chapter 3. So please log on to cnet.com. Thank you, cnet.com, for sponsoring today's article. The iPhone 16 Pro high resolution slow motion video is the best Apple feature in years. Commentary. Apple Intelligence was supposed to be the headline feature on Apple's new phones, but a new slow-mo video setting steals the show by Mr. Patrick Holland on behalf of CNET.com. There's a saying that everything looks better in slow motion. You could record someone taking a sip of a drink, and slow motion can transform that mundane activity into something dramatic, graceful, and ethereal. When Apple announced the new iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max could record slow motion footage at 4K resolution and 120 frames per second, I actually sat forward in my seat. Okay. Moving on. Please log on to macrumors.com. Macrumors.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring today's episode. Forgot to pre-order an iPhone 16? Apple Store pickup available today at most locations. Apple's new iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Plus, and iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max models are now being delivered to customers worldwide following the pre-order period that began on Friday, September the 13th. For those who didn't pre-order the Pro models or chose to wait, many configurations now have estimated delivery dates in October. However, there's good news for customers wanting their devices sooner. Select Apple Store locations globally are offering same-day or next-day pickup options. As of writing, Apple's online stores in the United States and Canada haven't yet been updated to show pickup availability, but shortages aren't expected, and there is unlikely to be much variation state by state. Meanwhile, across the pond, all iPhone 16 colors and configurations are available from Apple Store pickup today in countries including France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Apple stores in Australia, China, India, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, South Korea, Turkey, and the UAE are also offering same-day pickup options. Nice. Okay, let's keep going. Please log on to Engadget.com and thank you for sponsoring today's episode. Billy Steele for Engadget. We've got to make it happen. How Apple designed AirPods 4 for effective ANC. Behind the scenes of the big overhaul and a brief history lesson. Billy Steele, senior reporter, reviews for Engadget.com. The AirPods story actually begins with the iPod. With Apple's popular personal music player, the company shipped its first set of earbuds. Sure, they were wired and very basic, but the accessory laid the groundwork for what would eventually become AirPods. Along the way, the EarPods would be bundled with the iPhone in 2007, and a 2012 redesign produced something more akin to what would eventually become the first-gen AirPods in 2016. The artwork the company did to improve the fit of the EarPods continues to pay off as Apple prepares to ship the noise-canceling AirPods 4. We have started trying to learn a bit about human psychology, physiology, and what shapes would fit better in people's ears. Apple's Vice President of Hardware Engineering, Kate Bergeron, told me about those early days. We started doing some MRI scans and trying to figure out how to gather data, but we didn't have a sense of how many scans we'd be looking for or how many different kinds of ears we needed. Over the years, Apple has developed more efficient methods for gathering data, so it was able to build out its database of ear shapes quicker than in the early days of EarPods. Bergeron explains that she expects the company to be continuing that journey forever when it comes to developing new versions of AirPods. During what Bergeron described as the dark days of COVID, a small group from the AirPods team was trying to solve a dilemma. They wanted to bring effective active noise cancellation, ANC, to the open design of the regular AirPods. The crew had already successfully done so on two models of the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Pro Max headphones. But this time around, it was essential that the open nature of the AirPods remain while also providing the technology to block out distractions. So in 2021, over the course of several days, Bergeron and AirPods marketing director Eric Tresky met up at one of Apple's acoustic labs for a demonstration. At that point, the team was unsure if they had anything viable, but they wanted to They wanted the executives' feedback on it nonetheless. We were just blown away, Bergeron recalled. He said, "We absolutely have something here. We need to go after this, and we've got to make it happen." Acoustic and computational work that was required for an effective ANC algorithm was happening simultaneously, with iterations on improving the fit and overall comfort of the AirPods 4. After testing the AirPods 4, I can say that the fit and comfort have improved since the third gen model, but Apple also expanded the earbuds capabilities with the H2 chip and microphones from the AirPods Pro 2. This combination of advanced tech enables Apple to continuously monitor fit in a user's ear, updating the ANC algorithm in real time so that the noise blocking is still effective even as the AirPods move around. It's even computationally more intense in many ways than it is with the AirPods Pro, Bergeron said. The ear tip gives you a fit that's pretty consistent. Not bad. Moving on. Okay. Xbox shares roadmap for various upcoming day one Game Pass titles, including a confirmed date for 33 Immortals by Mr. Fraser Gilbert. Please log on to purebox.com. Purebox.com, thank you for sponsoring today's episode. As you probably know, we're always keeping a very close eye on Xbox Game Pass announcements here at Pure Xbox. And we're actually a bit confused by a new roadmap of titles that's been posted on Xbox social media accounts. The confusing part is that Xbox is only picking out a small number of Game Pass titles to highlight, which suggests at first glance that there's nothing else to come out. But that's obviously not the case. Nevertheless, there are plenty of big upcoming games mentioned here, including Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Stalker 2. Here's a look at all the images stitched together as shared by Clobril in Twitter. Frostpunk 2 for PC, September 20th. Ara, History Untold for PC, September 24th. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, October 25th. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, November 19th. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, November 20th. The Alters TBD 2024. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, December 9th. 33 Immortals, January 25th, 2025. Avowed, February 18th, 2025. The big takeaway here for us is that 33 Immortals has been pushed to 2025. That's the problem. And now has a set date of January 25th for the game preview season. Or could they be calling the bluff and releasing on Christmas? We don't know. That's what I think. We knew about everything else already, but it's still nice to see them laid out like this. Why wouldn't they want to compete with what's on the market? We will have to check on to see what the heck is being released that day. Beyond the games mentioned here, there's plenty of stuff lined up for 2024 and 2025 on Xbox Game Pass. And we've got massive guides to both years elsewhere on Pure Xbox. All we need now are some more official release dates. Very good. All right, now we are going to take our first break. I'm going to step out, get my workout going. I'll be right back. We're going to go back to the Asia markets, which you guys will probably hear on the live, but on the radio show, they can hear it on the podcast as well. So I'll be right back. Hydrate, get you guys something to eat. We're going to start the main finals, which will be chapter 3, of course. To give you a heads up, we're going to start with Formula One aerodynamics. We're going to move on to the Honda J engine, list of Honda engines. We're going to go to categories of Honda engines. Then we're going to go K-Series motor, and we'll finish up with carbon fiber. So we got a lot of work to do. I hope you guys did your homework because these are your finals. Give me one quick second. I know all of you will make me proud. Oh, man. Ok, para la clase en español, regresamos después de un breve momento comercial. Vamos a empezar con Fórmula 1 en Wikipedia. Pasaremos al capítulo de aerodinámica, motor J de Honda. Vamos a pasar por la lista de motores Honda, las categorías diferentes. Vamos a profundizar en el motor K de Honda y terminaremos con fibras de carbono por el día de hoy. Vamos a hacer lo mejor posible. Vamos a ingeniar de todas formas en inglés, pero le voy a dar breves momentos de una pausa y cambiamos a español. Entonces, regresaremos en un segundito. Aquí viene el mercado asiático del día de hoy.
Welcome back. Newbank Obama and senior portfolio manager Steve Eisman has changed his view that Donald Trump will win November's U.S. presidential election, saying it's now a toss-up. He also told us that markets will be fine with any political scenario apart from a clean sweep by Democrats.
My prediction was basically that Trump would beat Biden. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's not running anymore. So I withdraw the prediction. I have absolutely no idea who's going to win.
Okay, I was going to ask you, do you think that means that Harris has a better shot than Biden would have?
Well, there's no question she has a better shot. I think the election, like everybody else thinks, is a toss-up.
A total toss-up. So it's interesting because we're in good times, right? Economically. At least we're not in bad times. And usually when you're in good times, the incumbent wins. I know she's not Biden, but she's part of that package, right? She's the incumbent vice president. Why do you think Americans are so dissatisfied, or at least that dissatisfied with this administration?
No, look, I think the big issues, I'm not telling anybody who to vote for. The big issues that people care about are inflation. Yes, it's come down, but it was bad. They care about the border, and that's been bad. That's gotten better, but they remember. That's what I think people care about, and that hurts the administration.
Well, when you think about the policies, and I think it's fair to ask about what you think about both of their policies, Trump and Harris at this point in time, because the economy is such a big part of this election. What do you make of what they're putting forward? Which plan would stimulate more growth?
So I have sort of a very almost simplistic view of the implications of the election for the market. So if Harris wins, but it's a divided Congress, the market's fine. And if Trump wins if Harris wins and it's a Democratic sweep, the market's going straight down. I'll get back to why in a second.
Terribly unlikely, though.
I don't know if it's unlikely or not, but I'm just saying that's what if that happens. If Trump wins and it's divided government, the market goes up. If Trump wins and it's a sweep, the market goes up. So the only circumstances I think under which the market has trouble is a Democratic sweep, and that's because the Democrats are talking about raising taxes, and markets don't like that. That's simple.
The reason I say it's unlikely is that the Senate, there's so many Democratic seats in the
It's
Senate.
extremely unlikely, but given what's happened, I'm not willing to go out and make a prediction that can't happen.
Newbank Obama and senior portfolio manager Steve Eisman speaking with our colleagues Sonali Basak and Matt Miller. Of course, we just broke the news that BOJ stood pat as expected at 0.25%. We're awaiting comments from UEDA, perhaps on the direction that it may take later in the year. Might we see another rate hike? Remember that stocks markets say it's going to be pretty difficult for the BOJ to make another move. But when you speak to economists, they say 7% chance of that happening. Nikkei futures pointing to gains being maintained. We're looking at the yen at 142.09. Strengthened by 0.4% versus the USD on the back of that decision. Plenty more ahead. Keep it here with us. This is Bloomberg.
So there is no strong reason why BOJ needs to take action right now because the domestic demand is not very strong. But still, 3% and Japan's low interest rate, there's a big interest differential. So it's possible that yen, starts to appreciate, but remain at the quite depreciated level than the past, like 120 or 130.
And that was Keio University Professor of Economics Yuri Shirai speaking to us earlier on the back of the BOJ non-move, staying pat at 0.25%. We're, of course, awaiting that the comments from Governor Ueda. Might he give any indication of the moves the BOJ might make later this year? Will that be another rate hike? The yen, 142.06 right now, inching higher versus the USD by 0.4%. Let's get more analysis from our crew right here, Bloomberg MLife strategist Mary Nicola, of course, Bloomberg Intelligence Chief Asia FX Rate Strategist Stephen Chu, also joining us for this conversation. Mary, I mean, this was very much expected after that 50 basis point move by the Fed. All the central banks are just waiting to see what that impact might be.
Absolutely. And so you saw that first stage. Now there's like an everything rally because of the Fed, because we've got easing monetary conditions and the Fed is and the U.S. economy is doing well. So the things are laying the groundwork for equities, but it's now about what the other central banks are doing. We saw the BOE didn't do anything. BOJ wasn't expected to do anything, but they're likely to lay that groundwork. And I think the market to some degree is underpricing that.
So there might be a surprise, Stephen, in what Ueda says later today.
I think he will be more hawkish and sort of prepare market for potential rate hikes, say 25 bips at the October meeting. I think what's interesting is if you look at the recent comments from the BOJ members, they are quite hawkish. For example, like the speech from Tamura is really impressive. He basically said that the neutral rate for Japan is near 1%, and the central bank should really hike rates all the way to near 1% by 2026. So that means a gradual rate hike over the course of next one to 2 years.
So possibly a surprise, possibly hawkish, but you know what? The swaps market say it's going to be so difficult for another rate hike later today. But on the other hand, 70% of the economists we surveyed say, you know what? It's going to be a go.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Bank of Japan is actually prepared to hike in October. It will be a shock to everybody if we see consecutive rate hikes from the Bank of Japan, like historically speaking. But don't forget now the quantitative easing tapering, or the QT, as you said, if you look at the maturing JGBs, it's actually in autopilot. So basically, the Bank of Japan is still shrinking their balance sheet all the way at least until March 2026. So even without a rate hike today, they're still tightening, so to speak. So that's why they're still on course for further rate hike. Nothing has changed, but they probably want to stabilize the boat a little bit, especially on the back of a 50 basis point Fed cut yesterday.
So, Mary, what is the BOJ strategy? I mean, this is a cautious approach. Slowly, it is in no rush to do anything right now.
I think I'm very much in Stephen's camp. I do agree with everything he said. And the fact is that they're going to lay the groundwork. They have been laying the groundwork in terms of they're looking to hike rates. The key thing now is because, as you mentioned, the swap markets is underpricing any sort of expectations of hikes for this year, which means that they have to be explicit and clear about what they plan to do, especially to avoid any surprise shocks or any moves that we saw.
Mary, that's impossible. That is the BOJ. There's no clarity when it comes to the BOJ. It is there to confuse you.
True, but at this point, you don't want to repeat what has happened in early August, right? And so if you want to avoid that, it's all about your forward guidance.
And Stephen, just very brief there, we saw the yen reaching 142. Where do you see the yen trading?
Yeah, I think right now we are in a fair level because according to our fair rounding model, we can go in at roughly just below 140.
Goku, Level 1, right back at you. Black Cool, 911 GT RS. You. Black Cool. I tried. I had to get it all full of rock shots. Talk about lies. I made them front for mine. You know the city been mine. I'm the main reason why these cats can't shine. I need every time when I rhyme. They already know it's all about mine. My grind, my rap. Do it down for my 225. 225, like my crew. Mama, do you love the friend? Gotta wait till. How much do you want me to spend? I got enough. I can take you for them if you wanna go shopping. I can take you to the heights if you wanna go cop. Mama, do you like a drop? Or how it's gonna stop? The whole city, I'ma have it on lock. Make sure that you know it's gonna drop. Me, I'm on it. You make it so hot. You gotta sneak the car. Inside of you, mommy, was beautiful. How many kids you won't give to me? I just wanna have a few with you, then you believe me and do what you want to do. I ain't hating, baby. Go get your money, however you make it. She know what kind of you make it. I'm trying to see her naked. Get inside, I'ma let you drop. You wanna get high, I gotta get by. I ain't gonna let you smoke. Got to stay high. I told you lies. How you gonna try? Do you wanna ride down to 25? I can see the good inside your eyes. This is your guys. I can imagine the way you drive. You wanna kiss my eye. You're blind with sight. Goku, Thunder Mark 1, signal save the flow. Right back at all of y'all. I don't want you to feel bad. Don't think about the past that we had. Everything is different from this point on. You know I remain till I'm gone. Will you be on? If you make it happen, I'm gone. I just want you to live your life, even if you don't wanna become my wife. Let's go for a walk. You wanna talk to me about your lifestyle? You living your dream. You really wanna see me on TV. You wanna hear me under your tree. You wanna tell all your friends about me, but I need you to keep everything low key. Cause you know a lot of niggas been hating on me lately. Everything just perfect. It feels so trusting. If you let go of it, last time I was dishonest. I didn't try to switch up to be honest. They're gonna keep doing They were so mad when I was famous. Now they say that I'm shameless. I ain't got no fame. Why am I happy? I could have been slain. They ain't mad, I changed the game. When it come to hustling, I am the aim. Mama, you know I was playing games with every bar that I was saying. I was displaying every day I was praying. Niggas waiting for a nigga never to make it. Now I'm here, it's clear, just to give me, I'm on. Please say cheer for me this year. Frostbite on some shit. Brand new whip, 0 miles and shit. I'm a nigga still walking through the strip. Getting a free for my miss. This time around, I want it way different, yo. This time around, my love's so long for you. They gave me love. If everything feels perfect, cause it feels so trusting. If you let go of it, first times I was dishonest. I didn't try to switch up to be honest. They're gonna keep doing Carbon fiber package, technology package. I'm not bragging, fully loaded top of the line. I'm just happy that you are mine. You wanna chill, you wanna relax. On 225, baby. Making our heart while I'm gripping her ass. Titties to match, she's beautiful. Gorgeous hair, all black. Light skin, in fact, with the light skin eyes. Plus, for sure, he know how to dance. Walking with her man, crossing the bridge back in the days, headed towards Adrian. Yeah, that's my girl. The biggest part of my world. Goku, Venom R1, Sigma, Sega, Flow. Let's go. Let's go. I don't need a kiss now. You can quit acting hard. Make it something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. I remember. Making something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. Growing up, I ain't have shit. Now I'm wealthy and shit. I could buy whatever I want. and I don't want none of it. So many commas in the bank account, mama. No more drama. I am Obama. Amen. Sancho Sama. Flow so proper. Pre-am version. My flow copper. Showstopper. Mama, she's a whopper. I wanna take it down to the Red Lobster. Olive Garden, cause I'm a OG. B.F. James, baby, cause I love the Chinese. I need a cuter style. You can quit at the heart. Hey, make it something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. I remember. Making something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. Cross the bridge, run up my strip. Nigga shoot it, hollow tip. Bullets at this young kid. I'm a Smith, I just spit. I just left the strip, left the bricks. Focus on my chicks. Tryna have my kids, bring my script to Jiffy. A nigga going legit, tryna build a company. I was pressing up my disc. Niggas talking all that shit. But the name lives, hating on the kid. Cause the nigga got rich and I did it on bricks. And I switched that shit to this music shit. Never look back and niggas is mad. Cause now you see the Lamborghini all black. The Ferrari all black to match. Porsche driving that. GT2 RF cause I'm the best. In the street got it right, check. Every label try to holler every day on the DMs. Ain't that a bitch? I need a cuter style. You can quit at the heart. Hey, make it something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. I remember. Make it something out of nothing. Remember I was struggling. Now it's my city. I'm running marathons like my nigga Nipsey. Do you understand that they can't get with me? Flow so deadly like the venom that flows inside of me. Goku, Venom R1, 2024. Catch him slipping while they chillin' at the red eye. I've been wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you step into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team. Stop tripping. They blow through the money like it's tripping. Stop tripping. They blow through the money like it's tripping. Catch him slipping while they chillin' at the red eye. I've been wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you step into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team. I don't care about material shit. I'm a Jewish nigga from the strip. Shorty wanna strip, she wanna live very close to the crib. So thinking the hips, I'm sucking on her breast. Shorty be trying to test and be this mess. Since I'm the greatest of all time, living in the flesh. I told her that I got next. I don't care about the money, I can write you a check. She just wanna be with me. She's tired of living in debt. She said the money chillin' at the red eye. Never wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you slip into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team. Stop tripping. The blow through the money like it's tripping. Stop tripping. The blow through the money like it's tripping. Some slipping money chillin' at the red eye. Never wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you slip into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team. I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're gonna do. I can relate to you. It's still beautiful to
free, which is where market is trading right now. And when we look at market position, the latest data show that market now the net long in yen is at a share of about 40%, which is again historically quite high. So that tells you that a lot of those carry trade unwind probably has been done. There could still be more room for carry trade unwind, but at least for now, everybody will just take a breather and look at what the Fed does, what the BOJ does. Of course, the direction is still for further dollar yen downside, but the pace will be a lot slower from here.
We're also keeping a watch on what the PBOC does, and today that fix. Wow, how are you reading that?
I mean, actually, the fix is somewhat in line with our forecast model. So basically, it's what the FX market feeding through to the PBOC, nothing special. But all you can say is the lower fixing, of course, is because of the spot dropping. So people talk about after the Fed cut, now a lot of the exporters are finally coming back out to sell the dollars. But of course, what China wants is a stable currency. They don't want very fast depreciation and, of course, very fast appreciation. So that's why there were news about actually state banks are coming out to stabilize and buying dollars from here. So of course, from here, weaker dollar, we see lower, weaker dollar China, but at a very gradual pace as well.
Does it pave the way now for further easing in China without really hurting the currency?
I think so. I think that's one of the reasons why they've let it slip gradually. If you have a bout of weakness as a result of, let's say, the impact of the interest rate market, that it's a little bit of a buffer, right? So they've created themselves a buffer. The Fed's helped them create a buffer. The overall risk on environment has helped them create a buffer. And not to mention that all of this, especially with the yuan strengthening, this is such a good positive environment as well for other currencies in the region, because we have to remember just how dependent a lot of these currencies and how they move together, and especially the likes of the Sing dollar, the Thai baht. There's such a strong connection between the yuan and them, so I think that also creates a better environment for Asian FX.
And we have a line here out of Thailand where the Thai Finance Ministry says it wants the key rate to move with the global trend. How are you reading that?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of noise from the policymakers on the Thailand side looking for them to just cut rates. And from the Bank of Thailand is that they will just do what is allowed or what they think is deemed appropriate for their economy, because inflation is not an issue for them. In fact, if they see some disinflationary impact, they should be already cutting, but they don't want to as much. And of course, again, with the currency appreciation, that gives them another buffer to allow allow some weaknesses.
But the thing is, there is a conflict there. That is the view of the finance ministry. When it comes to the Bank of Thailand, the central bank, it says it doesn't have to go the Fed way.
Yeah, it doesn't, absolutely, and we've seen that over and over again. And they've pushed back on the finance ministry repeatedly, even on the prime minister as well. So it's all about what's best for their economy and what they see fit.
And Stephen, your thoughts on it and how this might play out in terms of the Fed's strength or weakness?
Well, basically, I think we can see further dollar downside from here. I know there's a lot of rate cuts being priced into the market, but still, like in the rate cut cycle market, we just keep pushing for further rate cuts until the Fed say that they're done cutting rates. So basically, market will be in a sell on rally mode for the dollar. As you can see yesterday, right after FOMC, there was some dollar recovery. But actually, when London came in yesterday, we saw dollar selling off again, so entering today as well. So that's pretty much where market is going to be, at least until the US election in November. Basically, there's no obstacle for this dollar weakness.
All right, again, we have some breaking lines out of the BOT, the Bank of Thailand, saying that it does not have to follow the Fed, and another line here that is Thai baht strengths on the dollar weakness as well as the gold rally. Bloomberg NY strategist Mary Nicola and Bloomberg Intelligence Chief Asia FX and Rate Strategist Stephen Chu, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. Now, New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon says his country will explore opportunities with the U.S.
Okay, so I'll let y'all hear the album for a little bit. We're going to begin with chapter 3, official start time, 1:39:40. You guys have 2 minutes and we will begin. I'm looking at the auction right now. We got a Revuelto that came up, and we'll probably do that last. But The album we re-released today is Goku 2 Wisdom of the Stars. And let's do what it do.
To me, and I can see that you got a vision that was built in the streets, built without a team. What you need is a visionary like me. Visionary, it could get scary. I'm waging the war, I'm a one-man army. Flowing over beats, taking over the industry. I don't give a fuck about these streams. I leave these niggas in the steam every single day when I press up in that beat.
Some sipping while they chilling at the red light. Have 'em wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you step into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team. Stop tripping. We blow through the money like it's stepping. Stop tripping. We blow through the money like it's stepping. Some sipping while they chilling at the red light. Have 'em wishing it was green. Ain't no slipping when you step into the west side. Ain't no messing with the team.
Black on black, GT2, GT2 RS. That's that Elo shit, that carousel shit. Shorties, open up the kid. She understand the way that I live. Peaceful, baby, take off your kicks when you come inside the crib. She can dance, she can cook, just a little bit. I got her vibes, I'm an enterpriser.
That line gets up and takes the shit.
Goku,
Beats everything that's
Venom R1.
behind us, the show vehicles.
Sick. Flow. God gave me a gift. I just wanted to make a few flips with my nigga J Bless. We know we the best. Motherfucker rest. Fuck y'all niggas. I bump my own shit. Burn my own disc on my own fucking strip. Put it on for my city, nigga. I'm the king. I don't give a fuck what these niggas think. We never gon' stop doing our thing. Had a 20-year run, put it on for Big L and Big Pun. For all them in the Bronx, y'all niggas don't want nothing. I know all y'all niggas frontin'. I'm getting numbers. Mama, do you see the wing? You can fix your wig when you getting in the way. You can drop full. I smoke my blunts way past the clip. Mama, please pass me the clip. She don't understand. She be running her lips. She be kissing me with the same dick shits. I be like, damn, mama, it's hit or miss. She tell me she love me. Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that some shit? Mama, why you wanna trip? She wanna take a drive down to Texas. She already know who the best is. She don't pay attention to who the rest is. Houston or Dallas. 2024. Adrian Lam, 5 girls of New York to the dirty South, in New Orleans, in the Midwest. They already know who the best. Fort Worth, Dallas, Houston, Texas, shit. I'm in Austin, driving into Austin, Martin, very often. I flow like Kobe and Jordan. Y'all ain't ready, streets, go support it. They love it. They understand that one day they used to be him. And wishing they wasn't. But that's the way I was a front. Gotta make it happen, get my numbers. Now these niggas got electrical hummers. I need those for my mother. You understand I love it.
Baby, let me ask you something. Are you a ride or die, baby? Yeah. Baby, let me ask you something. Would you ride or die for me? Yeah.
Ride or die, you wanna be my wife. You wanna live your life on 225. I can buy the buildings, right? Cause you know the flow's so tight. Every time I rhyme, I just let them know like the city is mine. They ain't ready. This is my life. I paid the cost. This is my sacrifice. My nigga Dylan lost his life. 7 years old. I feel the strife. Do you feel the gripe? I can feel it inside of my mind every time that I rhyme. Every single line I display what's inside of my mind. I miss my nigga all the time, but I know it's because of him that a nigga shine.
Baby, let me ask you something. Are you a ride or die, baby? Yeah. Baby, let me ask you something. Would you ride or die for me? Yeah.
I suffered all my life. Put it down for my 225. Every time that I rhyme on the mic, put it on the entire night. I used to whip bikes, Calirando every day and night. Niggas don't wanna fight. I make them take flight with that 55. Watch your eyes. Don't worry about my enterprise. Do you my nigga? Cause I'm living my life. Word to Jesus Christ. Look at me, nigga, take the advice. Dreams come true, now I'm flooded with ice. Brand new Lamborghini pearl white. And I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. A nigga shine so bright.
Baby, let me ask you something. Are you a ride or die, baby? Yeah. Baby, let me ask you something. Would you ride or die for me? Yeah.
Y'all don't understand, nigga. I was a young man walking with a plan, nigga. I grew up in poverty on Adrian. Apartment D, nigga, what you know about him? Goku, Venom R1, another album, huh? 8th Avenue, Sigma, Sega, Flow.
I've been getting money for a long time. Since I've been getting money, I've been making for a long time.
Word to my
I've been getting money. Since I've been getting money, they've been acting funny. I've been getting money for a long time.
I am the greatest of all time. I'm the reason why y'all niggas can't shine. See me on my grind, still on my grind. 225 for the day I ride, and I rise every time. Got a nigga rhyme, a nigga gon' shine. You see me, you press rewind. Every time you hear a line that I display, niggas is fake. Niggas ain't getting no money today. I'm gon' stop with that shit in the rain, and it's just a lane. Driving like Martin Senna from the membrane when I spit it inside of your brain. I'm inside where I came. You ain't ready, brand new lane. Oh shit, on some BTC, NFT shit. Y'all niggas is try stream. niggas try to scheme, getting money, that's the dream. New version of Cash Money, but we talking billions of dollars every time I rhyme on beats. Taking over, that's what it be. Don Emperor of NYC, 5 barrels still ride with me. Watch when you see the Lamborghini. See on 6th Street, nigga gon' pay little bit above $3 million for me to be driving in the street, smoking on the best dreams. Y'all niggas better than me, not in your motherfucking dream. Got the catalog to prove that I'm the greatest so-called time MC.
Since I'm making money, every nigga for the fun, time. I've been getting money, I've been getting money. Since I've been getting money, they've been acting funny. I've been getting money for a long time.
Trash niggas in the game, sending no way they rights, that's not why I came. I got my own shit, the new version of Big Daddy Game. I'm on some LL Cool J shit, on some rockin' shit. Niggas ain't ready, they ain't focused to win. I've been did that from the beginning to the end. You know that the flow is venom. I'm getting that done every single day. Niggas ain't got nothing to say. Put me on stage, shit's gon' blaze. I'ma get paid every single day, every day. But you see me, you gon' see me destroy the industry. All these fake ass niggas rhyming over beats. Gon' have problems with me. I'ma just reach the entire universe internationally when I go on tour. Nigga holla at me, I'ma get the cream, I'ma build my team, put it on for my city. Wherever the fuck I be, you gon' see that release brand new abilities I showcase daily. These niggas can't fade me. Nigga, the streets made me. Giving back up, tired enough ability for my score. Put it on 5 barrels. Number 1 in New York, from the Bronx, up in Harlem. Now I'm going on tour, all across the globe. Bitch, full time with my flow. Venom R1. I am number 1. 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 And another one.
Regardless of who wins the November election, he also told us exclusively about his outlook on the economy and why he's optimistic about a recovery next year.
We inherited quite an economic mess, and we've been working our way through that. I mean, the first part is to get government spending under control, which was a big driver of our domestic inflation numbers. As you know, when inflation goes up, interest rates go up, and as a result, the economy's been in recession, and that's led to some rising unemployment as well. So, in essence, what we're having to relearn is the lessons of economics that we learned 35 years ago, and this generation of political leadership, making sure that we deal with those. And that's why, there's some encouraging early signs. We're seeing inflation has come down from 7.3 down to 3.2. We expect it to be in the mid-2s in this quarter. We've seen certainly our first interest rate cut, and we're now on a downward trajectory on interest rates. And we've also seen business confidence at a 10-year high. So, we've now got to work our way through the spending, inflation, the interest rates, get growth back into the economy and keep people in work.
How much can the rate picture really help, particularly when it comes to animal spirits, right? As a former business leader, would you, with full respect to RBNZ independence, would you expect them, or I think that it's maybe a good idea for them to follow what the Fed has done, which is jumbo-sized easing?
Well, look, that'll be ultimately a decision for the Independent Reserve Bank, but there's 2 more opportunities before the end of the year to lower rates. I think what's been important is to make sure that fiscal policy and monetary policy are working together, and that's the bit that I can control, is certainly fiscal policy and making sure that we've got good, effective government government spending, that it's not actually leading to an overheated economy and high inflation, which is what was the situation that was happening. And then for us, it's about getting the platform in place for growth, because New Zealand has a fantastic future. I mean, it really does. It's got so much potential, but we've really got to create the conditions for that future growth.
Does that mean you've got limited fiscal space to do things on that side if we're talking about fiscal restraint?
Yeah, so we certainly have limited and constrained ourselves with respect to our operating allowances going forward to make sure that we've got good fiscal consolidation and financial management in place, and we're bringing that discipline back into public service and back into government spending. But equally long term, medium term, we've got a lot of opportunity with respect to upgrading our infrastructure, embracing more science, technology, innovation, getting our education system working right, getting rid of red tape, making it an easy place to do business, and certainly international trade. So, New Zealand is well positioned in the world, I think, with the Indo-Pacific region, rapidly growing middle classes, as you well know. We've got really strong, liberal, social democratic institutions in New Zealand. We've got abundant natural resources, and we have really outstanding people.
Do you worry about trade protectionism and punitive trade policies, particularly if there is a second Trump presidency?
Well, look, I think, in terms of the last 20 years, there has been, New Zealand has no doubt about it benefited from an international rules-based system, trade liberalisation. We're a small country without, tariffs, which we removed, decades ago in New Zealand. So we're competitive, and we really benefit, and we've been behind things like CPTPP with Singapore as the original sort of partners on that agenda, and we continue to believe in that. But no doubt about it, in the last 20 years, there's been quite a seismic shift in some of that thinking. So irrespective of, frankly, who gets in the US, there's still lots of opportunity for New Zealand, and frankly, we're going to work with whichever president the US people determine and decide on who will become president.
New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon speaking exclusively with the Asia Trade co-anchor Heidi Starkbot in Auckland. Plenty more ahead. Keep it here with us. This is Bloomberg. Canada is trying to strengthen relations with Southeast Asian nations as trade tensions with China intensify. Canadian Trade Minister Mary Ang spoke to us from Laos, where she's attending an ASEAN meeting.
In ASEAN, which is really important part of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. What are we doing here? I mean, I over the last year and some have taken several trade missions specifically here into the ASEAN member states. I've been to Singapore, to Philippines and Indonesia later this year, and other ASEAN markets into next year. But what does that really mean? It means businesses, Canadian businesses, coming here into ASEAN, creating those trade and investment relationships right here in the region. So we're creating those partnerships. We're creating those investment partnerships and those relationships. And when you're talking about supply chain, it is the company that is manufacturing a part perhaps here or creating a technology in Canada, creating that kind of collaboration and partnership to make those supply chains more resilient. And it's underpinned by strong FTAs. I also want to say to ASEAN colleagues here, remember when you trade with Canada, you are trading with over 65% of the world's economy through Canada's free trade agreements. We have them with, in really important markets like that in North America or the European Union and many of the Asian Pacific countries through the CPTPP. So working with Canada and us doing this with ASEAN member states means more resiliency underpinned by a rules-based trading order.
At the same time, we see these tariffs when it comes to Chinese EVs, potential counter tariffs, potentially more negotiations on other trade measures as well. Do you see this as sort of potentially, dangerously slipping into the possibility of a tit-for-tat trade war? And does that risk actually worsen depending on if there is another Trump presidency after the election?
Well, Canada has always been, through our entire history, a rules-based country. We stand up for the rules-based international order. Canada is an open trading country, but we are a fair trade country. What we negotiate and what we stand up for are standing up for industries to ensure that there is fair competition globally. Fair competition for us also includes making sure that we are tackling climate change, in the growth of our economies, making sure that our workers, have fairness in pay and standards. I mean, that's fair trade, and I do believe that our
Okay, let's pause right there and let's continue with chapters 3 and 4. One quick second. Make a few adjustments here. Here we go. Formula One. Log on to en.wikipedia.org/wiki/formula_1. Capital F, capital O. 110 languages. Formula One, commonly known as Formula One or F1, is the highest class of international racing for open-wheel, single-seater Formula racing cars, sanctioned by the Federazione Internazionale de Automobile, FIA. The FIA Formula One World Championship has been one of the world's premier forms of racing since its inaugural running in 1950. The word formula in the name refers to the set of rules of all participants cars must follow. A Formula One season consists of a series of races known as Grand Prix. Grand Prix take place in multiple countries and continents on either purpose-built circuits or closed public roads. A point system is used at Grand Prix to determine 2 annual world championships, one for the drivers and one for the constructors, the teams. Each driver must hold a valid super license, the highest class of racing license in the FIA issues, and the races must be held on grade 1 tracks, the highest grade rating the FIA issues for tracks. Formula One cars are the world's fastest regulated road course racing cars, owing to very high cornering speeds achieved by generating large amounts of aerodynamic downforce, much of which is generated by front and rear wings. The cars depend on electronics, aerodynamics, suspension and tires, traction control, launch control, and automatic shifting, and other electronic driving aids were first banned in 1994. They were briefly reintroduced in 2001 and have more recently been banned since 2004 and 2008, respectively. With the average annual cost of running a team, designing, building, and maintaining cars, pay, transport at approximately 220 euros, 220 million euros, or 265 million US dollars. Formula One's financial and political battles are widely reported. The Formula One Group is owned by Liberty Media, which acquired it in 2017 from private equity firm CVC Capital Partners for 6.4 billion euros or 8 billion US dollars. History of Formula One. Formula One automobile racing has its roots in the European Grand Prix championships of the 1920s and 1930s. Though the foundation of the modern Formula One began in 1946 with the Federación Internazionale del Automóviles, FIA, standardization of rules, which was followed by a World Championship of Drivers in 1950. This is the start of the internet. The sport's history parallels the evolution of its technical regulations. In addition to the World Championship Series, non-championship Formula One races were held for many years, the last held in 1983 due to the rising cost of competition. National championships existed in South Africa and the United Kingdom in the 1960s and 70s. Early years and continuation of pre-World War II supercharged engines, 1946 to 1950. Formula One was first defined in 1946 by the Commission Sportive Internationale, CSI, of the FIA, forerunner of FISA, as the premier single-seater racing category in worldwide motorsports, to become effective in 1947. This new international formula was initially known for variously as Formula A, Formula I, or Formula One, with the corresponding Voitorete formula being titled Formula B, Formula 2, or Formula II. When the 500cc formula was internationally recognized as Formula 3 in 1950, it was never titled as Formula C. So the three international formulae were then officially titled Formula 1, Formula 2, and Formula 3. In the beginning, the formula was largely based on pre-World War II regulations defined by engine capacity. The regulation expected to bring a new balance between supercharged and normally aspirated cars. Non-supercharged 4.5-liter pre-war Grand Prix cars were allowed to race against the pre-war 1.5-liter supercharged Voiturettes, while pre-war supercharged 3-liter Grand Prix cars were banned. There is some debate as to what can be considered to be the first Formula One race. The first race under the new regulation was the 1946 Turin Grand Prix, held on the 1st of September, the race being won by Achille Varzi in an Alfa Romeo 158 Alfetta. But this was before the formula was officially in place. The next contender is the 1947 Swedish Winter Grand Prix, which was won by Reg Parnell driving an ERA. But this race was to run on ice, and some consider that it therefore was not a proper race. There's also some doubt whether it was a Formula One race or a Formula Libre race. The third claimant is the 1947 Pau Grand Prix, which was won by Nello Pagani, driving a Maserati 4CL, which is irrefutable. Championships for drivers or constructors were not introduced immediately. In the early years, there were around 20 races held from late spring to early autumn, fall in Europe, although not all of these were considered significant. Most competitive cars came from Italy, particularly Maserati. Racers saw pre-war heroes like Rudolf Caracciolo, Manfred von Brauseridge, and Tazio Nuvolari end their careers, while drivers like Alberto Ascari and Juan Manuel Fangio rose to the front. Formula One originated from the World Manufacturers Championship, 1925 to 1930, and European Drivers' Championship, 1931 to 1939. The formula is set a set of rules that all participants' cars must follow. Formula One was a formula agreed upon in 1946 to officially become effective in 1947. The first Grand Prix in accordance with the new regulations was the 1946 Turin Grand Prix, anticipating the formula's official start. Before World War II, a number of Grand Prix racing organizations made suggestions for a new championship to replace the European Championship. But due to the suspension of racing during the conflict, the new international formula for cars did not become formalized until 1946. To become effective in 1947, the new World Championship was instituted to commence in 1950. The first World Championship race, the 1950 British Grand Prix, took place at Silverstone Circuit in the United Kingdom on the 13th of May, 1950. Giuseppe Farina, competing for Alfa Romeo, won the first Drivers' World Championship, narrowly defeating his teammate Juan Manuel Fangio. Fangio won the championship in 1951, 1954, 1955, 1956, and 1957. Juan Manuel Fangio. This set the record for the most world championships won by a single driver, a record that stood for 46 years until Michael Schumacher won his sixth championship in 2003. A Constructors' Championship was added in the 1958 season. Sterling Moss, despite being regarded as one of the greatest Formula One drivers in the 1950s and 60s, never won the Formula One championship. Between 1955 and 1961, Moss finished second in the championship 4 times and third the other 3 times. Fangio won 24 of the 52 races he entered, still the record for the highest Formula One winning percentage by an individual driver. National championships existed in South Africa and the UK in the 1960s and 70s. Promoters held non-championship Formula One events for many years due to the increasing cost of competition. The last of these was held in 1983. This era featured teams managed by road car manufacturers such as Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, and Maserati. The first seasons featured pre-war cars like Alfa Romeo's 158, which were front-engine with narrow tires, and 1.5-liter supercharged or 4.5-liter naturally aspirated engines. Let's take a pause right there. So a turbocharged engine is 3 times as efficient. This is the proof right here, according to Formula One guidelines. The 1952 and 53 seasons were run to Formula 2 regulations. This is where you get your Type Rs and your smaller displacement. So Formula 1 would be something like Porsche 959, Lamborghini Diablo, Ferrari F40. Formula 2 would be like the NSX. Okay. The 1952 and 1953 seasons were run to Formula 2 regulations for smaller, less powerful cars due to concerns over the dearth of Formula 1 cars. When a new Formula 1 for engines limited to 2.5 liters was reinstated for the 1954 World Championship, Mercedes-Benz introduced its W196, which featured things never seen on Formula 1 cars before, such as desmodromic valves, fuel injection, and enclosed streamlined bodywork. Mercedes drivers won the championship for the next 2 years before the team withdrew from all motorsport competition due to the 1955 Le Mans disaster. Technical developments. The first major technological development in the sport was Bugatti's introduction of mid-engine cars. Jack Brabham, the world champion in 1959, 1960, and 1966, soon proved the mid-engine superiority over all other engine positions. By 1961, all teams had switched to mid-engine cars. The Ferguson P99, a four-wheel drive design, was the last front-engine Formula One car to enter a World Championship race. It entered the 1961 British Grand Prix, the only front-engine car to complete that year. During 1962, Lotus introduced the car with an aluminum sheet monocoque chassis instead of the traditional space frame design. During the 1962 season, Lotus introduced the car with an aluminum sheet monocoque chassis instead of the traditional space frame design. This proved to be the greatest technological breakthrough since the introduction of mid-engine cars. In 1968, sponsorship was introduced to the sport. The NSX is a perfect car because Formula 3 was 3 liters, and the car debuted with a 3-liter engine. Genius. In 1968, sponsorship was introduced to the sport. Team Gunston became the first team to run cigarette sponsorship on its Brabham cars, which privately entered in orange, brown, and gold colors of Gunston cigarettes in the 1968 South American Grand Prix on the 1st of January, 1968. 5 months later, the works team, Lotus, followed this example when it entered its cars painted in the red, gold, and white colors of the Imperial Tobacco's gold leaf livery at the 1968 Spanish Grand Prix. Aerodynamic downforce slowly gained importance in car design with the appearance of aerofoils during the 1968 season. In late 1970s, Lotus introduced ground effect aerodynamics previously used on Jim Hall's Chaparral 2J in 1970. That provided enormous downforce and greatly increased cornering speeds. The aerodynamic forces pressing the cars to the track were up to 5 times the car's weight. So this is adjustable downforce. 5 times the weight of the car. So if the car's 2,000 pounds, 5 times 2 is 10, that's 10,000 pounds of downforce per square inch. The secret to speed is, you guys have the answer, it'll be on your test. Leaving the suspension virtually solid, so the suspension is adjustable. This meant that the drivers depend entirely on the tires for any small amount of cushioning of the car and driver from irregularities on the surface. So everything was down to the tire. The clearance between the ground and the tire, that's all that was available for these designs. Amazing. We'll go back into big business. Let's go into aerodynamics, and we'll go and take our break and start chapter 4. Aerodynamics. Aerodynamics, ancient Greek, Aero, air, plus ancient Greek, avaukin, dynamics, is the study of the motion of air, particularly when affected by a solid object, such as an airplane wing. It involves topics covered in the field of fluid dynamics and its subfield of gas dynamics, and is an important domain of study in aeronautics. So we need to open another one. Actually, let's open it right now so we don't have to look for it. Look. There we go. Computer helped us out. Oh, this is aeronautics. I'm bugging. How do you spell that shit? Aeronautics. 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 Nautics. Wow. That's spelled whatever it is. Okay, let's go. We'll find it the long way because obviously there's no hyperlink. So let's go with just had it. Aeronautics. Okay. So that way we can do both before we go into composites. Okay. And we'll go to composites afterwards. Okay. All right. The term aerodynamics is often used synonymously with gas dynamics, the difference being that gas dynamics applies to the study of the motion of all gases and is not limited to air. The formal study of aerodynamics began in the modern sense in the 18th century, although observations of fundamental concepts such as aerodynamic drag were recorded much earlier. Most of the early efforts in aerodynamics were directed towards achieving heavier than air flight, which was first demonstrated by Alo Liethenthal in 1891. Since then, the use of aerodynamics through mathematical analysis, empirical approximations, wind tunnel experimentation, and computer simulations has formed a rational basis for the development of heavier than air flight and a number of other technologies. Recent work in aerodynamics has focused on issues related to compressible flow, turbulence, and boundary layers, and has become increasingly computational in nature. All right, so back to the news.
Trading system around the world. I believe that
And
other countries want
everybody
that as
take
well.
your break.
So as a rules-based
We'll be
trading
back with chapter 4.
Canada lives up by our standards, and it is a challenge today. But I think we need to work through those challenges. But I think we also need to be honest about those issues that is causing perhaps some of the issues that is causing unfair competition. And if I think about the work that we do in Canada through the Auto Group on reforming the WTO, that's some of the work that is really important for Canada. As well, making sure that we are not only standing up for the system, but being a real participant to ensure that the rules-based international order is something that we continue to work with our friends around the world to do.
And that was the Canadian International Trade Minister Mary Ang speaking to Bloomberg's The Asia Trade. Well, it has been trading for about 2 minutes now. Not to be outdone, the benchmark in positive territory, parting along with the rest of the region. Remember that this is already the lowest stretch environment for the market. Stocks trading at least 20 times what they are elsewhere. The Sensex index up 0.3%. The index also in positive territory. In terms of the rupee, trading 83.56 versus the USD, currently higher by a potential 1%. Nothing more ahead. This is the plan.
course, I'm a big admirer of President Trump. He did a fantastic job of laying out Sri Lanka in the midst of a chaos when no one wanted to take over. And we spent that I think today Sri Lanka did not be more profitable.
Chaudhry Group Chairman Vinod Chaudhry speaking to us earlier this week at the Milken Asia Summit. Sri Lankans head to the polls this weekend for the country's first election since defaults on sovereign debt triggered the worst economic crisis since independence. Beijing and Washington have both committed millions of dollars of loans and investment as their rivalry hangs over the Bloomberg's debt structure. Joins us now from Colombo. Those deepening U.S.-China rivalry and overhang here, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is actually one of the closest races that Sri Lanka has had in really its recent history. It's come down to a three-day race. What's essentially the established Sri Lankan political establishment up against an insurgent candidate who comes from a leftist Marxist background who is coming into office with the promise to really sort of shake things up here in Colombo. So it is really a closely watched election here, and they may very well go to runoff actually for the first time in history after Saturday's vote.
We know, for instance, that lots of issues like the housing slump into its fourth year. How is it impacting sentiment on the ground? How are voters feeling right now? How are they likely to vote on the back of that?
So, there's really a sense of, desire for change on the ground. I mean, among people that I've spoken with, there's really a lot of grassroots support that you're hearing for something different, for sort of a different way of running things. Of course, IMF bailout has been a major source of progress for Colombo in the years since the economic crisis really upended this country. That being said, a lot of the measures that were taken to bring that bailout into effect, things like higher taxes and governance overhauls, some of these measures have been really unpopular among day-to-day Sri Lankans, and so the incumbent administration really has enough of a battle in sort of selling some of those measures as they go into the vote this weekend.
There's also trepidation among investors and assets. Sri Lankan assets have been under a lot of pressure. Any chance at all of a reversal in sentiment?
Well, there could be. I mean, some analysts that we've spoken with have said that if the incumbent administration, somehow loses, or if there's a major upset in the vote, you could see a big pullback in the Sri Lankan rupee. Of course, the Sri Lankan rupee was really under a lot of pressure during the throes of the crisis in 2022 and staged a big recovery. So that will be very closely watched. And the turbulence in that currency, of course, is really responsible for sort of the pain that many Sri Lankans experienced during that crisis. So that I think might be a real barometer going into the election.
You talked about how the IMF deal is in focus. How about in terms of foreign policy, relations with India, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, so Sri Lanka is really in a sort of special place geopolitically, right? It lies just south of the Indian Ocean. It's on the sort of China's Belt and Road, right sort of square in that sort of sweet spot for China. And China has been really responsible for a lot of the infrastructure build-up that you've seen here in Sri Lanka over the last decade or so. It's visible all across Colombo, and everything from seaports to roads, highways. A lot of this has been built with Chinese investment, and that's made India nervous. India and China are, of course, historic rivals. India and the U.S. have become closer as they have aligned against China. So you're seeing a lot of U.S. interest in this election as well. So geopolitically, I mean, there's really a lot going on in Sri Lanka, and you're seeing a lot of push and pull between India and China here.
Ben Stroff, thank you so much for that. Now, some top corporate stories we're watching. Bloomberg has learned that Johnson & Johnson is boosting its offer to settle baby powder lawsuits to more than $8.2 billion. Sources say under the new terms, claimants could get bigger payouts and about $650 million in legal fees covered. The drug maker earlier offered a $6.5 billion settlement. J&J maintains it's now withdrawn talc-based powders never cause cancer. Nike has ousted CEO John Danaher and its regional executive Alan Hero out of retirement. The struggling brand was prioritized. Hero joined Nike in 1988 and served as president of the Sierra Marketplace before he retired in 2020. So it's looking at August. China is benefits from globalization.
sepas que yo te quiero a ti. Te dije que te iba a dedicar tu mi poesía cada vez que yo vaya a armonizar, cuando te vaya a cantar. Tú quieres que yo vaya a tocar para allá, para la semana larga en Samaná. Vámonos, ven para atrás, van a abrir la santa. Yo voy a tocar, mami, yo te voy a enseñar quién es el mejor de verdad. Pero tú sabes, contigo yo tengo que coronar. Tú sabes la verdad, tú sabes cómo yo me siento en mi alma, la forma que yo te voy a improvisar es para que tú sepas lo que yo tengo adentro para ti. Lo que yo sufro por ti, mami, ya tú sabes, ya tú lo sabes. Lo que yo sufro por ti, lo que yo sufro por ti, me sufriendo, mami, ya tú sabes. Lo que yo sufro por ti, lo que yo sufro por ti, mami, ya tú sabes. Lo que yo sufro por ti, Mama, I don't want to lose you, ain't trying to confuse you. I just want you to know that I bought that cool. I just want to do me. I know that you're doing what you got to do. I just want to make moves. I just want it to be cool between me and you. Do you understand that love is just a fool? Mama wanted to use me like a tool and then let me go. I know what you're going to do. You just going to break my heart. Then you going back to your friends about all of my bars. You going to show them all of my scars and my tattoo representing my squad. Ya yo lo sé, pero tú no me quieres. Ya yo lo sé, que tú no me quieres. Tanto me duele mi amor, ya yo lo sé, ya yo lo sé. Que a mí tú no me quieres. Perdóname si te estoy hablando, porque ya yo soy presidente. Tú sabes que yo estoy corriendo y la competencia está demasiado urgente. Presente, ¿dónde está mi gente? Yo presenté lo que él siente adentro de su mente. Soy un demente, líricamente yo te enseñé. Vamos a hablar la verdad, pero la vergüenza la buena, la mierda que yo veía, papá, en la televisión. En realidad, esa vaina es de verdad. Yo te voy a enseñar. Solamente yo te vengo a hablar, yo te voy a escuchar, yo te voy a analizar, mamá, yo sé la verdad. Tú dices que tú me quieres, pero a mí no me quería de verdad. Eso era mentira. Eres mi vida que ya tenía de mi vida. Y él lo veía. Yo iba a llegar. Ella me hacía llorar. Sé la verdad. Ella me hacía llorar. Y yo gozaba y disparaba. Todos los días me entraba. ¿Qué pasaba? Mi vida cambiaba. A ella no le importaba. Cuando afuera lloraba, como mataba por esa Eva que me ignoraba y yo me daba. Yo me enamoré de ti hace mucho tiempo, pero te estaba respetando, tú sabes, como Marc Anthony dice, todo a su tiempo. Todo a su tiempo. Todo a su tiempo, todo a su tiempo, a su tiempo, el tiempo de Dios es perfecto. Tú sabes, mi amor, cuando yo ando tranquilo, sabes, sin tener dinero. Pero con mi número tengo algún interés. Ella sabe que yo la amo de verdad. Jamás nunca la voy a poder reemplazar. Que ninguna otra Eva venga a cambiar lo que yo siento por ella. Porque cuando yo no tenía nada, era mi Eva que me venía a apoyar. El amor que él iba a necesitar, solamente su Eva se lo iba a dar. Ella tenía que demostrar que ella me quería de verdad. Mucho examen la puse a pasar y toda la prueba ella capta. Cada vaina que yo le decía de mi vida, cuánto yo sufría, a veces se salían las lágrimas mías, todavía estamos frías, siendo de mi vida. Esa es la vaina de la historia mía. Yo no sabía yo que la vida que tenía, yo era mi guía, cada paso que yo daba, a mi lado daba la Eva mía. Yo encontré el mundo entero, mi Eva, mi hijo, mi familia. Yo sabía que me tenían envidia y que la industria enterita no me quería dar ni una entrevista. No querían saber la verdad de mi vida, de mi talento, y me decían que algún día que iban a escribir ese cheque para yo mantener a mi familia. Yo era joven, 17 años tenía, yo le creía, yo no sabía lo que era sabiduría, yo no sabía lo que era una iglesia y una Biblia. Yo sabía de la esquina lo que se necesitaba para yo comprar par de ladrillas, para buscarme metiéndole mucha milla. Tú sabes, esa M5, sin problema, dispara la 55, dentro de esa 45, cuidado que esa vaina te brinca, te hinca. Cógelo suave, panita, tú no entiendes la cosa de mi vida, que yo vivía, lo que yo tenía dentro del alma mía, llora alma mía. Hará su sufrimiento, él te destila.
Vamos a ver aquí con los mercados. Pero vamos a chequear Bloomberg para continuar. Vamos a buen tiempo. Gracias a Dios. Ok. Mercado hace una hora. Vamos. 22 minutos.
What's your job? What do you do? I'm a software engineer. How much do you earn as a software engineer? Like
Mire
160.
esta vaina, ellos te forzan los comerciales, la madre. Dejamos el 11 comentarios. El primero.
Welcome to Bloomberg Markets. I'm Shonali Bassick. Let's take a look at where markets are trading because, of course, after a record high in the S&P 500, we are lower today, of course, by 0.2% on that S&P 500, but really holding that 5,700 line. We are looking at a decline of 0.3% in the NASDAQ 100. The two-year yield holding a little steadier, only about a move of about 1 basis point, really flat on the day to 357. The 10-year at 372. This is where we look like where we're generally ending a week of a historic Federal Reserve rate
Open up
cut.
your
So
Baja
looking
app
movers
and
on the
let's
equity
see.
side, we're going to bring in a Bloomberg Markets correspondent Abigail Doolittle for that.
Yeah, we have some idiosyncratic movers here. Chanel having little to do with the Fed. Starting off the shares of Nike, they are popping sharply higher, up 6.4%. This is the company that's bringing in veteran
I have a quick
Elliott
idea.
Hill to replace John Donahue as the company's CEO and president. This will be effective October 14th. Wall Street analysts very positive on this. The stock right now having the best day since September of last year. At the highs, shares had been up about 9%. At that point, the best day since December of 2022. I never know how to interpret that when a stock is rallying when one CEO is out, but it clearly seems as though investors really like the idea that this Elliott Hill, who had been with the company before, the product merchandise side, is coming back. Let's turn to a stock that's not faring quite as well, and this, of course, is FedEx shares plunging
See, we
down
need to raise it a little bit.
13.7%. This after they cut the outlook for the full year view, it appears that consumers are continuing to trend toward lower cost packages. Plus, the CEO is talking overall about a challenging quarter. It sounds as though there are some headwinds there, having less to do with consumers going for that cheaper package, and maybe for the economy. When you have this in a week when the Fed has cut rates by 50 basis points, you have to wonder what's going on with the economy. Stay tuned, because we also have that bifurcated consumer, which goes for some products but not others. And then it is Triple Witching Day. Probably a piece of the reason that we've had some volatility with stocks down pretty significantly.
So we can have range is
what we're looking at here is volatility for
we're
lots
going
of
to
different
power
asset
up
classes. In blue and yellow
for
here, we
this
have
part
bond
of the
and
exact
currency volatility here. That should be the case as the foundational asset classes. And there is the VIX. Shanali is closer to a 16 handle, more in complacent territory. But it is interesting to note that the series of higher lows there, pointing to the possibility at some point, Shanali, that there could be a move higher for the VIX. But on this Triple Witching Day, it seems as though there's more about intraday volatility and higher volume.
I would appreciate a look under the hood for more on how historically have responded to rate cuts historically. We're going to bring in Bloomberg report recovery equities, Alexandra Semenova. This morning, I opened my Bloomberg
we
terminal.
got sound. Yep, we got perfect sound.
You said that the hefty Fed cut isn't at all clear for soaring
A
equities.
little bit better, at least a little bit better.
Today, what are people saying out there?
Exactly, Shanali. So the Fed has been teasing markets with interest rate cuts for 10 months now. They finally got it this week.
Let's see.
And there's no
Just
question
this.
that teasing generally bodes well for risk appetite. We saw that yesterday, of course, with
A
the
little
S&P
bit better.
500 hitting its 39th closing record, and all 11 sectors in the index up across the board. However, today's price action is really a reflection of the path forward. Won't necessarily be smooth sailing. If you look at history,
That's the best I could do. At least I'm trying, right?
For equities,
All right.
the last
Give me
two
one
times the
second.
Fed began an easing cycle with a 50 basis point cut in January 2001 and September 2007, stocks fell over the next 12 months. So that could be fodder for the bears as they assess how the economy is doing. However, a very important caveat is that the economy is doing well.
Sorry
The Fed
about
is
that.
cutting into a period of strength.
Okay, now let's continue, right? We'll take a pause with that. We just want to look at the Bitcoin movement and Ethereum. We don't care about anything else but those two. You know, digital gold and digital, whatchamacallit? Okay, let's try that. Just got another idea. Let's see if this could work a little bit better. Are we able to do it? Yep. If we move this, we can do that. All right, perfect. So let's adjust this a little bit. No, pretty much the same. Just an uncomfortable angle. That's fine. All right, that's fine. We'll roll with that. What I'll do is I'll put this platform here so I can still scroll through it. Let me open it a little bit more. See if that helps. A little bit less. Right there is a little bit better. Okay, perfect. Now I won't have that control, but maybe I can modify it like this. And that works. That works. Not perfect, but it's working. Okay, perfect. All right, so everybody can hear me. And here we go. Chapter 3. Put this a little bit more comfort right there. Perfect. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me fix all this. Sorry about that. Put this up a little bit. All right, perfect. So here we go. It's good. Hydration. Official chapter 4 test start time 2:51. I gave you guys 23 extra seconds. You have 2 minutes, and we will start. Aerodynamics. Ancient Greek. Aero, air. Dynamics is the study of the motion of air. So, Andr Elvukarin. That's how you will pronounce it. Okay, let's go. Is the study of the motion of air. When affected by a solid object such as an airplane wing. It involves topics covered in the field of fluid dynamics and its subfield of gas dynamics, and is an important domain of study in aeronautics. The term aerodynamics is often used synonymously with gas dynamics. The difference being that gas dynamics applies to the study of the motion of all gases and is not limited to air. The formal study of aerodynamics began in the modern sense in the 19th century, although observations of fundamental concepts such as aerodynamic drag were recorded much earlier. Most of the early efforts in aerodynamics were directed toward achieving heavier than air flight, which was first demonstrated by Otto Lienthal in 1891. Since then, the use of aerodynamics through mathematical analysis, empirical approximations, wind tunnel experimentation, and computer simulations has formed a rational basis for the development of heavier than air flight and a number of other technologies. Recent work in aerodynamics has focused on issues related to compressible flow, turbulence, and boundary layers, and has become increasingly computational in nature. History of aerodynamics. Aerodynamics is a branch of dynamics concerned with the study of the motion of air. It is a subfield of fluid and gas dynamics, and the term aerodynamics is often used when referring to fluid dynamics. Early records of fundamental aerodynamic concepts date back to the work of Aristotle and Archimedes in the 2nd and 3rd centuries BC. But efforts to develop a quantitative theory of airflow did not begin until the 18th century. In 1726, Isaac Newton became one of the first aerodynamicists in the modern sense when he developed a theory of air resistance, which was later verified for low flow speeds. Air resistance experiments were performed by investigators throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, aided by the construction of the first wind tunnel in 1871. In his 1738 publication, Hydrodynamica, Daniel Bernoulli described a fundamental relationship between pressure, velocity, and density, now termed Bernoulli's principle, which provides one method of explaining lift. Aerodynamics work throughout the 19th century sought to achieve heavier than air flight. George Cayley developed the concept of the modern fixed-wing aircraft in 1799. and in doing so identified the four fundamental forces of flight, thus drag and weight, thrust, drag and weight, thrust, drag and weight, thrust, drag and weight, thrust, drag and weight. The development of reasonable predictions of the thrust needed to power flight in conjunction with the development of high lift, low drag airfoils paved the way for the first powered flight. The development of reasonable predictions of the thrust needed to power flight in conjunction with the development of high lift, low drag airfoils, the development of high lift, low drag airfoils paved the way for the first powered flight. Paved the way for the first powered flight. On December 17, 1903, paved the way for the first flight on December 17, 1903. Wilbur and Orville Wright flew the first successful powered aircraft. The flight and the publicity it received led to more organized collaboration between aviators and aerodynamicists, leading the way to modern aerodynamics. Theoretical advances in aerodynamics were made parallel to practical ones. The relationship described by Bernoulli was found to be valid only for incompressible, inviscid flow. Inviscid flow. The word of the day is inviscid flow. The term of the day is inviscid flow. The design angle of today, the inclination is inviscid flow. In 1757, I repeat, in 1757, one more time, 1757, Leonard Euler published the Euler equations, extending Bernoulli's principle to the comprehensible flow regime. In the early 19th century, the development of the Navier-Stokes equations extended the Euler equations to account for viscous effects. During the time of the first flights, several investigators developed independent theories connecting flow circulation to lift. Ludwig Prandtl became one of the first people to investigate boundary layers during this time. Developments in aviation. Working from at least as early as 1796, when he constructed a model helicopter, until his death in 1857, Sir George Cayley is credited as the first person to identify the four aerodynamic forces of flight: weight, lift, drag, and thrust. Weight, lift, drag, and thrust. Weight, lift, drag, and thrust. And actually it should be backwards. It's thrust, drag, lift, and then the weight. The weight is the counterbalance. This is the whole formula right here. I repeat again: weight, lift, drag, and thrust. Sir George Cayley, 1796. Most of you would have went with 1857. No, that was the last year. That doesn't count. If you chicken scratch the whole era, then I would grade you an A+ for that. And the relationship between them. Let's go to thrust. We have F-35 here. Thrust is a reaction force described quantitatively by Newton's third law when a system expels or accelerates mass in one direction. The accelerated mass will cause a force of equal magnitude but opposite direction to be applied to that system. Not bad. Weight. In science and engineering, the weight of an object is the force acting on the object due to acceleration of gravity. Lift. When a fluid flows around an object, the fluid exerts a force on the object. Lift is the component of this force that is perpendicular to the oncoming flow direction. It contrasts with the drag force, which is the component of the force parallel to the flow direction. Lift conventionally acts. Drag. In fluid dynamics, drag sometimes referred to as fluid resistance. So lift and drag is the same thing. Opposite spectrums. You see how the formula, this is the quantum breakdown of the formula, is a force acting opposite of the relative motion in or of any subject. Moving with respect to a surrounding fluid, this can exist between two fluid layers, two solid surfaces, or between a fluid and solid surface. Drag forces tend to decrease. And thrust we did first. Okay. Now we have all the formulas here. If we had a specified task, we can use this as our glossary here. High velocity, let me see. Okay, let's fast forward to faster than sound. This will take us into supersonic, okay? Faster than sound, later 20th century. As aircraft began to travel faster, aerodynamicists realized that the density of air began to change as it came into contact with an object, leading to a division of fluid flow into the incompressible and compressible regimes, two sides of the spectrum. In compressible aerodynamics, density and pressure both change, which is the basis for calculating the speed of sound. Newton was the first to develop a mathematical model for calculating the speed of sound, but it was not correct until Pierre-Simon Laplace accounted for the molecular behavior of gases and introduced the heat capacity ratio. The ratio of the flow speed to the speed of sound was named the Mach number, and after Ernst Mach, who was one of the first to investigate the properties of supersonic flow, which included Schillerian photography techniques to visualize the changes in density. This is why you can use that to engineer. But let's go with supersonic. Supersonic speed is the speed of an object that exceeds the speed of sound, Mach 1, for objects traveling in dry air of a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, at sea level. This speed is approximately 342.2 miles per second. Speeds greater than 5 times the speed of sound. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Okay. Malcolm Rankin and Pierre-Henri Higogniot independently developed the theory for flow properties before and after a shockwave. Jacob Akaret led the initial work on calculating the lift and drag on a supersonic airfoil. Theodore von Karman and Hy Latimer Dryden introduced the term transonic to describe flow speeds around Mach 1, where drag increases rapidly. Because of the increase in drag approaching Mach 1, aerodynamicists and aviators disagreed on whether supersonic flight was achievable. So let's go to transonic, because I would say this is any vehicle approaching 200 miles per hour. Supersonic is 200 miles an hour. Okay, transonic flow is air flowing around an object at a speed that generates regions of both subsonic and supersonic airflow around that object. The exact range of speeds depends on the object's critical Mach number, but transonic flow is seen at flight speeds close to the speed of sound. That's amazing. That's an amazing study. Okay. On September 30th, 1935, an exclusive conference was held in Rome with the topic of high velocity flight and the possibility of breaking the sound barrier. Participants included Theodor von Karman, Ludwig Prandtl, Jacob Ackeret, Eastman Jacobs, Adolf Bussmann, Geoffrey Ingram Taylor, Gaetano Arturo Crocco, and Enrico Pistolesi. Ackeret presented a design for a supersonic wind tunnel. Bussmann gave a presentation on the need for aircraft with swept wings for high-speed flight. Eastman Jacobs, working for NACA, presented his optimized airfoils for high subsonic speeds, which led to some of the high-performance American aircraft during World War II. Supersonic propulsion was also discussed. The sound barrier was broken using the Bell X-1 aircraft 12 years later, thanks in part to those individuals. By the time the sound barrier was broken, much of the subsonic and low supersonic aerodynamics knowledge had matured. The Cold War fueled an ever-evolving line of high-performance aircraft. Computational fluid dynamics was started as an effort to solve for flow properties around complex objects and has rapidly grown to the point where entire aircraft can be designed using a computer, with wind tunnel tests followed by flight tests to confirm the computer predictions. With some exceptions, the knowledge of hypersonic aerodynamics has matured between the 1960s and the present decade. Therefore, the goals of an aerodynamicist have shifted from understanding the behavior of fluid flow to understanding how to engineer a vehicle to interact appropriately with the fluid flow. For example, while the behavior of hypersonic flow is understood, building a scramjet aircraft to fly at hypersonic speeds has seen very limited success, along with building a successful scramjet aircraft. The desire to improve the aerodynamic efficiency of current aircraft and propulsion systems will continue to fuel new research in aerodynamics. Nevertheless, there are still important problems in basic aerodynamic theory, such as in predicting transition to turbulence and the existence and uniqueness of solutions to the Navier-Stokes equations. That's amazing, man. Okay, so we'll get out of aerodynamics. We stopped at aeronautics, and we'll continue tomorrow with aeronautics. But let's move on to carbon fibers. Carbon fibers, or carbon fibers, alternatively carbon fiber, graphite fiber, or graphite fibre, are fibers about 5 to 10 micron meters, 0.0020-0.00039 inches in diameter and composed mostly of carbon atoms. Carbon fibers have several advantages: high stiffness, high tensile strength, high strength to weight ratio, high chemical resistance, high temperature tolerance, and low thermal expansion. These properties have made carbon fiber very popular in aerospace, civil engineering, military motorsports, and other competition sports. However, they are relatively expensive compared to similar fibers such as glass fiber, basalt fibers, or plastic fibers. To produce a carbon fiber, the carbon atoms are bonded together in crystals that are more or less aligned parallel to the fiber's long axis, as the crystal alignment gives the fiber a high strength to volume ratio. In other words, it is strong for its size. several thousand carbon fibers are bundled together to form a tow, which may be used by itself or woven into a fabric. Carbon fibers are usually combined with other materials to form a composite. For example, when permeated with plastic resin and baked, it forms carbon fiber reinforced polymer, often referred to as carbon fiber, which has a very high strength to weight ratio and is extremely rigid, although somewhat brittle. Carbon fibers are also composited with other materials, such as graphite, to form reinforced carbon fiber composites, which have a very high heat tolerance. Carbon fiber reinforced materials are used to make aircraft and spacecraft parts, racing car bodies, golf club shafts, bicycle frames, fishing rods, automobile springs, sailboat masts, and many other components where lightweight and high strength are needed. Very nice. So, let's move on and let's start with the K series engine. We went over the J series yesterday. We still have the list of the Honda engines. We're going to go into the history afterwards, and we'll finish with that. So this will be the beginning of chapter 4, and we'll finish chapter 5 will be the last part. Okay, Honda K engine. Everybody hydrate, take a quick little break. All right, here we go. The Honda K series engine is a line of four-cylinder, four-stroke car introduced engines in 2001. The K series engines are equipped with dual overhead cam valve trains and use roller rockers on the cylinder head to reduce friction. The engines use a coil-on plug distributor-less ignition system with a coil for each spark plug. This system forgoes the use of a conventional distributor-based ignition timing system in favor of a computer-controlled system that allows the ECU to control ignition timing based on various sensor inputs. The cylinders have cast iron sleeves similar to the B and F series engines, as opposed to the FRM cylinder liners found in the H and newer F series engines, found only in the Honda S2000. Similar to B series, the K series car engines have two short blocks with the same design. The only difference between them being the deck height. K20 uses the short block with a deck height of 212 millimeters or 8.3 inches, where the K23 and K24 block has a deck height of 231.5 millimeters or 9.1 inches. So the difference is 0.8 of an inch. Wow. Two versions of the Honda iVTEC system can be found on a K series engine, and both versions can come with variable valve timing control, VTC, on the intake cam. The VTEC system on engines like the K20A3 only operate on the intake cam at low RPM only. One intake valve is fully opened, the other opening just slightly to create a swirl effect in the combustion chamber for improved fuel automation. At high engine speeds, both intake valves open fully to improve engine breathing. In engines such as the K20A2 found in the Acura RSX Type S, the VTEC system operates on both the intake and exhaust valves, allowing both to benefit from multiple cam profiles. A modified K20C engine is used in motorsport, as the Sports Car Club of America Formula 3 and 4 series that run in North America both use a K20C engine, with the Formula 4 engine not having a turbocharger. These are gaining a following in the import scene, but also among hot rodders and kit car enthusiasts because they can be put in longitudinal rear-wheel drive layouts. Another significant difference between K-Series engines is the alignment of the crankshaft to the center line of the bore. The K20C1 engine block has an offset alignment. Engines that do not have their crankshaft aligned to the bore are known as deck sack engines. On the K20C1 engine, this allows the power stroke to have more leverage and less thrust waste on sidewalls. Amazing. So let's look at some of the specs. K28 iVTEC, high performance, compression ratio, 1151, 217 horsepower at 8,000 RPM, 152 pound-feet of torque at 6,000. Rev limiter 8400, iVTEC engagement 6,000, intake manifold RBC. Nice. Let's look at the most powerful version. Civic Type R 221, 07 to 11, 8400 RPM, lower red line. VTEC engages quicker and it revs higher. 221, that's what's up. So the key to the K-Series is revs. Higher the revs, the more power. But you want to do it reliably, you know what I mean? I don't need a lot for my K-Series blocks. But I like the factory specs, just modified a little bit. All right, so let's go and finish with the list. Honda's 2 cylinders, 3 cylinders, inline 4. They start in 84. Inline 4 cylinder. Right? Inline 4 cylinder. The number in the engine code gives the approximate displacement of the engine. An example, B18 would have an approximate displacement of 1.8 liters. H22A1 will have an approximate displacement of 2.2 liters. Some engines below were available in more than one market. A series, B series from 89. So A series 84 to 87. No. Let me see. B series 89 to 2001. 2001. D series 90, no, not 91, 88, 85, 84, 84 to 01, 84 to 01. Damn. VTEC D series 01 to, nope, 95 to 05, 10 years. Okay. E series 73 until 84. F series 94. No, 88 to 02. That was a good run. H series 91 to 02. That's a good motor too. L series 01 to 12. R series 06 to 13. iVTEC K series 01 to 15 plus. Civic Type R K20C1. Diesel N series, not sure. 5 cylinders for the Viger, 92 to 94. That's an ill engine. V6 80 degrees RA16, 83 all the way to 04. Nope, 83 to 88. Dual overhead cam. C series 90 degrees. This is the Integra. I mean, not the Integra. This is the NSX motor. A single overhead cam or dual overhead cam. Single was the money they was losing, and dual overhead cam is the real motor. Acura NSX C38, C32B, J series. 96 started production and was the latest year. Earth Dreams 15 plus 3.5. Earth Dreams J series NSX 15 plus. Oh shit, that's a new fucking J series. Oh my goodness, yo. Turbocharged NDVA 90 degrees 86 to 02. Formula 1 V8 90 degrees 68. They had a Formula 1 V8 in 68, a 3 liter. Yo, 3 liter is all you got to do is multiply whatever Honda block. If it's a 2 liter, give it the capacity of a 3 liter, and that's it. That's all you need. That's it. That's all you need. If it's a 3.2, make it a 4. 3.5, make it a 5, like that. V10, Formula 1 V10, 89, 3.5 liters to a 3 liter in 05. On the loves and 3 liters. V12, Formula 1 V12, 65 degrees and 75 degrees. Dual overhead cam, 64 to 92. RA122EB started with the RA271E. So let's name them all out. 1964, 1.5 liter RA271E. V12, dual overhead cam, 60 degrees. 60 degrees, so 75 degrees is the jump. Okay, so now we go 1965, 60 degrees still. This is why the J series is a beast, because they knew about 60 degree engines. Okay, RA272E, 1966, 3 liter L, RA273E, that's 75 degrees, 3 liter. 1967 to 68, 3 liter RA273E. 1968, 3 liter RA273E. 1991, 3.5 liter RA121E. This is why the J series comes out in 96. It took them 5 years to make the civilian version. And it's half of this because it's 60 degrees of the original block from 64. So by 96, it would have been what? 90? No. 64, 96. It would have been 32 years. Wow, amazing. 91, 3.5 liter RA121E. 92, 3.5 RA122EB. Now let me look at the designs. This is still Formula 1 like, but the open roasters were the fastest ones, especially the one that they won the championship with, which I want to say is 65, RA272E. Let's go to that real quick. Honda RA272. We'll close out today with chapter 5. Official start time 3:23:46. You guys have 2 minutes to get in here. Último capítulo, capítulo 5, para la clase nueva. The Honda RA272 was a Formula 1 racing car designed by Yoshio Nakamura and Shioki Sano for the 1965 Formula 1 season. It was the first Japanese car to win in Formula 1, achieving victory at the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix. After leading, give me one quick second. Turn this off. Hold on. Okay, so we're off the air, podcast and radio show. Okay, so we're going to bring it home now. All right. The Honda RA272 was a Formula 1 racing car designed by Yoshio Nakamura and Shoichi Sano for the 1965 Formula 1 season. It was the first Japanese car to win in Formula 1, achieving victory at the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix after leading every lap with driver Richie Ginther. The win came just 2 years after Honda started producing road cars and was the first of 89 victories for Honda-powered Formula 1 cars and evolution of the company's first car to enter Formula One. The previous year's RA271, the RA272, was noted for its technically advanced 1.5-liter V12 engine, designated the RA272E, which was one of the most powerful engines in the sport at the time. Besides the win in Mexico, the car also managed to qualify in the top 3 in 4 of the 8 races it raced and entered. Let's go very quickly with dimensions, okay? Wheelbase, 2,300 millimeters, height 793 millimeters, width 1,675 millimeters, length 3,950 millimeters. Transmission, Honda 6 forward speeds, 1 reverse, 488 kilograms, 1,098 pounds. Competition history, Ronnie Buckram, Ronnie Ginther, 1965 Monaco Grand wins, 8 races, 1 wins, 0 poles, 0 times fastest lap, still won the race. Predecessor, successor, engine. Honda RA72. Okay. Honda has made a number of naturally aspirated V12 engines designed for Formula One motor racing, starting with the 1.5-liter RA271E engine in 1964 and ending with the 3-liter RA27E in 1968. This would be followed by a 21-year hiatus until Honda reintroduced the new 3.5-liter RA121E in 1991. The RA121E would go down as the last V12 engine to win a Formula One World Championship. Honda's last ever V12 engine, the R122EMB, raced in 1992. Grand Prix engine results. Number 1, World Constructors Championship. Number 1, World Drivers Championship. 15 race wins, 12 pole positions, 35 podium finishes. Shit is a monster. Cylinder and bore. 3.5 liter, 88 millimeters, 3.5 inches. Piston stroke, 1.9 inches. 52.2 millimeters, 2.1 inches for that piston. Valve train, 48 valve, dual overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder. Compression, 1201, 1291 ratio. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it. That's today's finals. Esas son las últimas preguntas del examen del día de hoy. Nos vemos en la próxima. Best teacher in the world. Love you guys. See you on the next one. God bless. Gracias a todos por su entonización. Nos vemos en la próxima. Dios lo bendiga.